Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled parent stories. Today we have a very special episode for you, a compilation of some of the greatest entitled parent stories we read over the past year. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a few hours of the most entitled parents you've ever heard of. And by the way, Karen assured me that if this video gets 1,000 likes, she won't try to speak to anyone's manager for an entire week. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And become an official member of the Re-Army today, and I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming video. r/entitled parents. Be roommates with my son and give him your games and food. Update Part 2. Hey people of Reddit, my cousins gave me a second update about a couple of days ago about entitled mom and kid that have been harassing them this semester. Now, they told me this happened about 8 days after the New York trip. So my cousins told me that they do first-year student elections during January to February. Entitled kid threw a tantrum when he lost the election for class president, and his entitled mom howled at my cousin. Meet everybody. We've got my older cousin, my little cousin, we've got the roommate, entitled mom, entitled kid's roommate, student body vice president, the nice kid, entitled kid's nice dad, and the dean. So the setting. My cousin and his roommate were having a council meeting discussing the first-year elections. Now, I was told that the meetings are for student council members and prospects only. Because Nice Kid was going to be a candidate for president, he was allowed in. And his dad is a janitor and he works a campus job, so he doesn't live on campus. The door opens. Cue entitled kid. Oi, everyone! My cousin didn't want to deal with his BS and told him to leave. He asked why he couldn't stay, and he stated that the meeting was for the student officers and prospects only. Then entitled kid asks, "What's a prospect?" Older cousin, "A prospect is someone who plans to run for office. They are then included in the meeting because they are an associate member." Then entitled kid asked why Nice Kid was allowed in. Then older cousin stated, "Nice Kid is a prospect, that's why." Entitled kid then said, "I'm gonna be a prospect." Now, my cousin knew that if you're on disciplinary probation, which he was, it's impossible for someone to get an appeal. The last time an appeal was successful was 1996, and the last time someone tried was 2009. With that in mind, older cousin laughed in his head and wished him luck, knowing that it would never get approved. Then his mom called the student council office to try to get information about an appeal. Now, my cousin said that the peer council is in charge of appeals. It is comprised of 12 student officers, 3 10th years, 3 11th years, and 3 12th years. The student body vice president vote counts twice. Now, his mom was there in the parking lot during the day of the vote. The vote was 6 out of 5, so entitled kid's appeal was approved. Older cousin had this "why" look on his face, and he saw entitled mom was in the parking lot and her boy came and hugged her. She then said, "I told you that mommy would take care of it." She then saw older cousin walked up to him and said, "My son got his appeal approved. You have to share that room and be his friend." Entitled kid, "Yeah." Older cousin sat there blank for a moment as he realized that he now has to spend time with entitled kid because he is a prospect. Then entitled mom says, "Excuse me, didn't you hear what I said? You're going to spend time with my son now." Older cousin then leans towards the mom and told the mom in an eerie way, "Let it begin." But in truth, older cousin was scared. He realized that if Nice Kid lost, he would be stuck with entitled kid for the rest of the year. The election was on February 25th, so he had 4 days to get a game plan. He asked Nice Kid and the rest of the gang to meet at the room to figure out what to do. It went like this. Older cousin, "Okay guys, we need to figure something out. If entitled kid wins, we're going to be stuck with him for the rest of the year." Nice Kid, "I have a good feeling I can win." Roommate, "That's not the point." Older cousin, "Yeah, I can imagine that his mom is going to bribe other students to try and get them to vote for her son." Little cousin, "We don't have a lot of money. That's the point." Older cousin, "So we have very limited cash resources to make you look good." Nice Kid, "Oh, I see." Then entitled kid's roommate called his dad and told him what was going on. He stated that his roommate could be class president if he doesn't help them. Entitled Kid's roommate's dad agrees to help. So getting Nice Kid exposure was the only thing that was left. The gang worked tirelessly to promote Nice Kid's campaign, even had a town hall with free pizza. Older cousin said that Entitled Kid really wasn't campaigning. Older cousin was thinking that maybe he just thought that he was going to win, so he didn't put in any effort. The eve of the election, older cousin had a meeting with the prospects in his room and told them that their parents have been called and they will be at the announcement when the results are in. Older cousin then proceeded to talk to Nice Kid and Entitled Kid about student government. Nice Kid was being cool, but Entitled Kid was demanding to eat sweets and to play games. It went like this. Entitled Kid:
Come on, let me have a honey bun and turn on the PS4.
Older cousin: That's not what this meeting is about. It's to prepare you for what is going to happen tomorrow.
OMG, turn it on, now.
Roommate: He said no. Entitled Kid:
Forget you, jerk. I'm gonna be your roommate soon when I become president. You're gonna have to share eventually, so stop holding out.
Everybody just sighs loudly to where it's obvious. Then Entitled Kid says,
What?
It was time to end things, so older cousin dismissed Entitled Kid and Nice Kid. Nice Kid left, and at that time, Entitled Kid's roommate was coming over. Entitled Kid's roommate: Hey, we're still on for tonight, right, little cousin? Little cousin: Yeah, I'll pull out the couch. Then Entitled Kid asks,
Can I sleep over too?
Roommate: No! Entitled Kid pouts.
Why not?
Roommate: Because you don't live here, and you aren't our guest.
Well, I'm gonna stay anyway.
Entitled Kid then proceeds to sit on the couch, and the gang asks him to move, but he doesn't. The gang isn't having it, especially little cousin. Little cousin stands over him, and Entitled Kid says,
What the heck do you want?
Little cousin: We can either do this the easy way, or we can do it my way. Entitled Kid:
Shut up, you ain't gonna do nothing.
The gang then drags him out, and he banged on the door for an hour begging to be let in. Fast forward to tomorrow. The parents, students, and faculty are all there. Vice was getting ready to read the results. Vice: Everybody, thank you for coming. This is a time where we greet the new class officers, our first-year students. Everyone, please be quiet, and we will be starting at this time. Vice then proceeds to say the candidate's name and how many votes they received. For Entitled Kid, 85 votes. Because student elections aren't that important to first year, 85 was a lot of votes. Then parents started to chat. Entitled Mom and son were looking smug, looking like they had won. Older cousin admitted to having this "oh crap" look. Then Vice banged his gavel and said, Order! For Nice Kid, 764 votes! Nice Kid wins. Little cousin and Entitled Kid's roommate turned to Entitled Mom and son and pointed in their face and said, Booyah! Nice Kid's parents were there and congratulated him, and so did the rest of the gang. Entitled Mom and son were really upset, but my cousin said that Entitled Kid's dad was just there and he was really polite. Entitled Mom and son pulled her husband away from the crowd and she demands he do something. Entitled Mom: You pay this school a lot of tuition. Our boy has to be president. Entitled Kid's nice dad: Well, over 700 people decided that they didn't want Entitled Kid to be president. I can't do anything. Entitled Kid having a tantrum:
I'm supposed to be president.
Now look what you did. You made him cry. Come on, Mommy will buy you an ice cream. She then turned to older cousin: You jerk. You plotted against my son, didn't you? Older cousin: Well, I didn't help him win. You owe my son. You didn't take him on the trip with you, and you've been bullying him all semester. If you don't be his friend, you're gonna get an earful from my husband. Entitled Kid: Yeah, you jerk. Entitled Kid then flips the bird to older cousin and leaves with his mom. Older cousin then had a talk with the nice dad and found out that he had sent him to the school hoping that it would break his son's entitlement. Older cousin tells the dad what has been going on all semester. Everything. The dad looked shocked. He begins to apologize profusely for his wife and son's behavior. He stated that he thought he was improving and making friends. Older cousin had to dispel that and said that Entitled Kid is being a grade A jerk and was being very rude and disruptive to everyone. He gave older cousin his number and said if Entitled Kid bothers them, just call him and put him on speaker. Nice Kid ended up choosing Entitled Kid's roommate as his vice president. As the days went by, needless to say, Entitled Kid became even worse when Entitled Kid's roommate was in student government. He said,
You stole the election from me. You have to pay for this.
Entitled Kid kept getting worse. Entitled Kid's roommate made a desperate plea and begged the dean to switch his roommate. The dean said, "I'm really sorry, but I have to. There's nothing left. I've asked other kids if they'll switch, and nobody wants to." Entitled Kid's roommate, "Can you do something?" Dean, "Well, there is one thing." "What is it?" "Well, theoretically, student officers are allowed to live together." Entitled Kid's roommate, "I'm not following you." Dean, "If you can convince the guys to let you move in with them, I'll allow it." Entitled Kid's roommate later asked the guys if he could move in. My cousins and roommate said he is more than welcome to live in the room with them. So they proceeded to go and get his things, and it went down like this. Older cousin, "Just put all your things on the bed and we'll get it." Entitled Kid's roommate, "Alrighty." Entitled Kid then says,
What are you doing?"
Roommate, "I'm moving in with the guys."
What?
Roommate, "Yeah."
Cool. Well, then I'm coming too.
The gang gives a very sarcastic, "Sure you can," and proceed to move Entitled Kid's roommate in. Roommate says in a really smug and sarcastic way, "Oh wait, you can't move in with us, remember? You lost." Entitled Kid throws a tantrum in the hallway and everyone sees. The gang gets the rest of his roommate's things and finished moving him in. Entitled Kid's roommate has had the best sleep in weeks. Entitled Kid does still wait by my cousin's door and begs for his roommate to move back in and gives a half-butt apology. The gang promptly ignores him and says, "This pizza is so good and it's all ours." Wow, look at these graphics. This is such a cool game. Entitled Kid begs to be let in, and the gang never does. They have woken up to him sleeping at the front of their door on more than one occasion. Mandatory late night call after you made me hourly? Yes, sir. So, quick background. I work for a big national company, which I will not name because I like being employed. And we have a big software system that the entire company relies on to wrap stuff up and get it ready for the clients. It's that last choke point bottleneck where if it dies, literally all the work the rest of the company does is for naught. I run this system at the grunt work day-to-day operational level. This system also typically has upgrades and fixes installed about every 2 weeks, and they always wait until late night on Friday to bring it down and do the install so that it doesn't impact daily business. Now, when these installs occurred, they always got a bunch of people on a call to go through everything and make sure it all works before calling it good for Monday. Being the guy who runs the system all the time, I was always required to be on these calls. I hated them. The calls started at 10 p.m. Friday night, so I couldn't go out and enjoy my weekend. Would last about 2 hours while the developers installed stuff, and at the very end, I pushed one button to kick things off so the suits could see that it was working and everybody was happy. This was literally monkey work, and everyone on those calls could have done it. I volunteered to teach them how, but no, they wanted me on the call. I was salary at the time, so not exactly like I could say no, and I wasn't getting paid anything extra for it. Can you see where this is going yet? Okay, so a few years ago, guidelines changed at the government level, saying anyone who made X amount per year or less couldn't be defined as salary, so they had to be hourly to stop companies from abusing glorified part-time workers. I made more than that, but the company went overboard because I was somewhere in the general ballpark and they didn't want to risk it. So bam, I'm now hourly. Roughly 2 weeks later, it's deployment call time. I ask if I'm really required to be there or not. Boss man says yes. I don't complain, because at least now I get paid for it. Oh, but wait, this isn't any normal deployment. No, this is a big one. They tell me I need to be on the calls that will start up at 5, right as I'd normally be clocking out for the day. Thinking it would be a quick check-in and then back out until 10, I dutifully call in. Nope, this call lasts from 5 until 10, when we got to take all of our 5-minute break and get into the other call. Now I'm home shored, so I'm sitting at this call in my underwear, and nothing going on requires any input from me at all. Again, I'm not complaining because I'm getting paid for this, and I've got Netflix on in the background. Not only am I getting paid, since I did my full 40 that week, already this was overtime. So 10 o'clock deployment stuff starts going on, and by midnight we get to my part. I push the button. I tell them it's going to take about 20 to 30 minutes to process before we even know if it worked. Half hour of twiddling thumbs later, it fails. Some cursing from developer as they go to try to fix whatever barked, and I got to spend another 30 minutes resetting all the data so we can try again. Once everything is ready, I push the button. 30 minutes later, it fails again. Fast forward several hours. It's now 5 o'clock Saturday morning. It still hasn't run properly. Everyone is cranky except me because, baby, I got dollar signs in my eyes. 12 hours of overtime for watching Netflix and doing monkey work is gonna be sweet. Except it was even better than I thought at the time. That Saturday was technically some minor holiday. My company pays time and a half if you work on a holiday. So I had 7 hours of overtime and 5 hours of overtime with additional time and a half. I ended up making over half a week's pay overnight from that call. My boss flipped when he saw the check I was supposed to get. I reminded him that I had asked an email with half the team copied if he really needed me on that call, and that he said I absolutely had to be. Unlike some of the bosses I read about on here, he swallowed his defeat gracefully. I got a huge paycheck that period, and oddly enough, I have not been required to attend a single one of those calls since then. I wonder why. Side note, developer worked on it all weekend and got it running by Monday morning, so we were fine. Entitled mom screams at me over an item I bought, gets kicked out of the store. Some backstory. I have recently been diagnosed with cancer. It's stage 1, and I would prefer not to say what type, but just know that I am currently being treated for it, and I am also scheduled for surgery to get it taken out. As any cancer patient will tell you, the chemo sucks. My oncologist told me that I'm not supposed to go out much because she doesn't want me to risk getting sick because my immune system is currently sitting somewhere in the garbage. All very reasonable. However, the pain meds that I am taking are a controlled substance, and as such, I cannot have it be delivered. And I also cannot send someone else to pick it up for me. It must be me, and I am also required to show ID to pick it up. Also important to note is that my boyfriend has been taking massage therapy classes so that he can help me feel better when the pain becomes unbearable. I don't feel like there needs to be a cast mentioned because it was really just me, my boyfriend, Karen, a security guard, and a male cashier involved, and only me, Karen, and the cashier actually spoke. Alrighty, with that out of the way, let's begin. My boyfriend and I had to go out to pick up a prescription for me. The pharmacy, we'll call Hoppers, has groceries, household items, and also the usual stuff you'd find at a pharmacy in it. We decided to pick up some groceries and supplies while we were waiting for the pharmacist to fill said prescription. So I took a cart and headed down an aisle to grab some face cleansing stuff. After I did that, I turned around and headed towards the pharmacy area to check to see how long we had until my meds were ready. On my way there, I grabbed a bottle of aloe vera gel, as it was on sale, and just as I do, the following happened. Karen practically screaming at me. "Oh, of course. Look at you, grabbing the aloe vera gel right away. Oh, I wonder why." I turned around to look at her. She didn't have the typical Karen haircut, but she did have her long blonde hair piled up on top of her head in a messy bun, bright pink nails, and a lot more makeup than a trip to Hoppers called for. She scoffed and smirked at me and then stomped off before I could say anything back at her. I was stunned, and I think my brain actually misfired a couple of neurons or something because I just couldn't believe that some random lady just yelled at me over aloe vera gel. After I picked my jaw up off the floor, I looked around for her because I was angry. I mean, what business is it of hers if I'm buying some aloe vera? Like, sure, you can use it to make hand sanitizer, but I literally grabbed just one bottle of it, not even close to the 4 per customer limit that the store had. After a couple of minutes, I spotted her 2 aisles over, so I quietly came up behind her and me, not yelling, but definitely louder than necessary. "Lady, I have cancer. Excuse me for enjoying a massage for my boyfriend every now and then after a grueling day of cancer treatment." Karen turns bright red, stammering. I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about someone else." Me. "Yeah, whatever, lady." The thing is, she and I were the only ones in the store besides my boyfriend and the staff, due to the store only allowing so many people in at a time. And also because this particular Hoppers is a little smaller than most, so it doesn't seem to get a lot of traffic anyway. I walked away to find my boyfriend so that we could continue shopping while we waited for my meds. I found him and of course told him what just happened. You'd think it was over at this point, but oh no. After a little while had passed, my meds were ready and my boyfriend and I managed to get everything on our shopping list. We were done and I was getting pretty tired, so we headed towards the front to pay for everything. I guess a few more customers had come into the store after all of that happened, so there was a bit of a line. But we really didn't mind because that's when I saw Karen standing directly in front of us in line. I pointed her out to my boyfriend. He was still fuming about how she had yelled at me, and also about how she straight up lied to my face when I called her out on it. But then he kind of chuckled, then nudged me, and gestured towards the Karen's shopping cart. This crazy Karen had the entire cart absolutely full of toilet paper. This store has huge signs everywhere about how there's a limit of 2 packages per customer, and Karen had an entire shopping cart full. Boyfriend and I watched in awe as she pulled out her credit card as she gets closer to the front, and we got to witness the most glorious thing unfold right in front of us. Cashier, politely, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but due to extremely high demand, there's a limit of only 2 packages per customer." Karen cuts him off. "Yeah, I saw, but I don't care about your stupid signs. I'm a paying customer. I have a right to buy whatever the heck I want." Cashier, "But the system won't." Karen screaming now. "I don't care. I am paying for it, so I will have what I want." Insert long, loud rant here. The cashier must have called for security somehow, or maybe they just heard the screeching, but whatever the case, a security guard materialized out of seemingly nowhere. Karen lost her mind and was practically frothing at the mouth when she saw the security guard. She tried to ram him with her cart, but since there was a lot of room, he just sidestepped it, grabbed her by the arm, and frog marched her out of the store. My boyfriend and I were quiet all the way back to the car, but the second we got in and the doors were closed, we looked at each other and cracked up laughing. We laughed so long and so hard that both of us had tears running down our faces. The whole way home, we couldn't even look at each other without starting to laugh again. Customer berates an employee and doesn't realize I'm the manager. About 8 years ago, I was around 21 years old and the manager of a Subway. To be fair to this customer, I have always looked younger than I am. This story is about a very berating customer, we can call them BC, and a sweet but mildly meek employee we will call SE. Employee is helping customer through the line and everything seems to be going well. I walked out of the back to help a customer that had walked in midway through interaction. She's doing her best to accommodate his exacting demands. Things like, "Only 4 pickles," and 2 shakes of pepper, etc. They get the checkout, and customer lays into employee, "I'm not paying full price, and I want a free drink. Are you stupid? It's not that hard to make a dang sandwich." Employee had done everything right up to this point, to portion, both for his request and to corporate standards when not given an amount. And employee had been extremely polite during this. She gets a deer in the headlights type of look when he begins this shouting and does what I trained her to. Employee offers to remake the sub if it's not correct. See, we've had a problem with people coming in regularly trying to get free food, so instead the sandwich gets thrown out and we will remake it from scratch, which at a busy store like ours, my employees could start to finish a sub in 2 minutes or less if you knew what you wanted on it or they didn't work rush. This infuriates him more. "No, I don't want you to remake it. Are you deaf and dumb, you idiot?" As he smugly looks back in my direction, thinking he's going to win this. At this point, I hold up a finger to the regular I'm helping with a gleam in my eye. This customer stifles a chuckle as this isn't the first time she has seen me stand up to a ridiculous customer. Look, my employees are working for barely more than minimum wage at a fast-paced environment. They don't deserve to be treated like crap. There is a difference between a frustrated customer with a legit complaint and one with a berating attitude. I interject. "Sir, is there anything I can help you with?" Customer. "Yeah, this dumb jerk can't do anything right. I want to speak to your manager." Me. "Well, sir, you're speaking to him right now." "You are not the manager. You're far too young. Is everyone here stupid or me?" Done with the situation. "I am the manager, sir, and as such, I won't have you talking to my employees that way. I'm exercising my right as a business to refuse you service, and you have 30 seconds to vacate my store before I call the police." Customer bulks up at this. "You wouldn't dare, you little..." Me. Our front line has both video and audio recording for both the safety of my employees and my customers. I will trespass you and allow my employee to pursue harassment if the police see it fit. I pick up the phone. I have never seen anyone dart out of the store so quickly. My regular nearly kills over laughing. My closer in the back shouts, "Heck yeah!" Employee, who is nearly in tears, I like to think out of combination of embarrassment, relief, and joy. Needless to say, I told her she handled that extremely well and to direct any similar customers to me. She also got her lunch, apparently comped that day, by me for putting up with it as long as she did. Almost as funny as how a meatball sandwich ended in divorce, but that's another story for another time. Speaking of Subway, what's your favorite sandwich to get there? I'm so hungry right now, and I'd love to hear from you. Karen gets mad for having to respect her free nanny. I started spending time with an old friend from school that had 2 kids now. She had just left a difficult situation and turned to me for help, as I was her only friend in trade school and since she had left. She stayed at my house for a week before getting into a women's shelter that gave her an apartment until she could get Section 8. No one was allowed to know she was there, and I stood by her this whole process, watching her kids for hours on end, making sure they were fed and looked after. People would tell me I'm such a good person for helping her, and honestly, it made me feel like crap for not being able to help more. But at that time, I was having a hard time mentally and had just lost my job, so I couldn't support her financially. I was allowed to be in her apartment because I was her support for the kids. This is where the entitlement comes in. She had never thanked me or really even asked for my help, rather demanded most of the time. I never expected a thank you and was just happy to help. But things took a turn a couple weeks in. She started to be really nasty towards me, making comments on my appearance and pointing out my flaws and insecurities. She even started getting her oldest to as well. They are well-behaved kids for the most part and really are just typical kids. She started dropping her kids on me with no notice and leaving me with them for hours. When I was at her apartment, she would sleep all day and I took care of her kids, keeping them quiet, making them breakfast, lunch, and dinner, keeping them entertained and trying to teach the oldest his letters while making sure the youngest stayed out of trouble. She would roll out of bed and complain about the dishes being dirty, then talk to her kids for a minute before playing on her phone until nighttime, then go back to bed. She didn't look for work at all, despite my begging her to, so she could either 1, pay me, or 2, find care somewhere else so I could find a job. The first time I snapped was over something small. Her oldest ran up to her wearing a Spider-Man mask my mom had bought for him because he loved Spider-Man. This boy treasured Spider-Man, wanted to be him. His mom's response: "Spider-Man is stupid and lame. Only losers like Spider-Man." Now this was significant to me for a couple of reasons. She just crapped on her son's hero, and my family loves Spider-Man. He's even my favorite superhero, something which she knows very well. She just did so many weird and awful things. We fought, but I ended up still watching her kids as she promised to look for work. She told me that she will never get a job with her training because it sucked. The same exact training I received by the same teacher. I just waved it off and resigned myself to forever being these kids' caretaker. The second time I exploded is when she told me my best friend was just a pathetic moron. My best friend is in prison. Longer story. She was 16. The final straw was actually her oldest son. He was acting out pretty heavily and she refused to discipline him. She would scream at me if I even suggested thinking about it. I just thought a timeout and a stern lecture would do him some good. I also told her he probably just misses her and is trying to get her attention. Spending time with him might help. She said I was telling her opposite things and I'm not a parent and don't know a single thing about kids. I grew up babysitting and spent years taking care of my brother's kids. She called a therapist who told her the same thing I did. And when she called to tell me, she blamed me for taking care of him. She told me I should have told her that he was missing her and that she should have spent time with him. I was done. I told her that she was a horrible mother who put her kids in danger. She took her oldest to a concert, knowing her crazy husband was there. He then tried to follow her home. I told her she was verbally abusive. I tried to point it out so many times, and she told me I was a horrible guest because I snored in my sleep and left dishes in the sink. She told me I was unreliable. I had a job interview once, and that I didn't actually care for her kids. I loved them. I told her I was done watching her kids for her, and I was so sick of her BS towards me. I told her that she needed to pick up the stuff she left here for her kids and lose my number. When she came to pick it up, she tried lying to tell my mom that I threatened to hurt myself if she stopped being my friend, using my past against me. She tried getting my parents to choose her over me because she has kids. My dad told her to just leave. She also threatened to call the cops because I refused to hand deliver her stuff to her window. She treated me like a slave most days, and other days like I owed her. It takes a lot for me to walk away from someone, especially if that person has kids and does need help. Karen was just too horrible. Before she left, She told me that no one would love me and I was going to die alone. When I found the $80 key fob to her car she left me in case of emergencies, I threw it in the trash. Several years of harassment caused her to lose a job and her kids. Several years ago, my mom was dating this nice man with 2 kids. My younger brother and I liked the boyfriend himself, but his kids were another story. His kids were entitled jerks that always got what they wanted, constantly stole our toys, and were generally a nuisance to be around. I always tried to be a better person, but my brother and I were constantly getting into arguments with them due to their pettiness. They weren't even the worst part of the relationship. The boyfriend's ex-wife was. From my perspective, I felt that she was the type of person that if she couldn't have him, nobody could. She made my mother and our lives heck, constantly filing false complaints about our side of the family, generally pointed at my brother and I. From harassment to claiming I had stolen the son's toys, which was the other way around, and going after the boyfriend, claiming he was an unfit parent. Several times she'd try and ruin any plans we had come up with. For example, after spending months planning a trip to New York, last minute she blew a fuse and demanded we cancel the trip so that she could take her own trip with them. We had already gotten written agreement from her. One time, she even demanded the oldest son and I visit a family therapist after pointing all the blame on me. I told my side of the story. It resulted, without the therapist fully implying, that they agreed I was in the right and them storming out of the room. Among many other reasons, even after my mom and her boyfriend had gotten engaged, the ex-wife was one of the biggest reasons why mom had decided to call off the engagement. The harassment and drama were just too much for us. It broke her heart to do so, but she made us the priority and got us out of that situation. A few years after the breakup, my small family and I were living happily. I never saw the kids or the dude again. My mom had still kept in touch with the former boyfriend, but after some time apart, she's seen the faults in him too. I was in the 8th grade and living life happily. That was until the ex-wife stepped into gym class one day. Apparently, since the breakup, she had gotten her teaching degree and became a substitute teacher. She was now replacing our normal gym teacher who was on maternity leave, as well as acting as the assistant teacher for our health class. Basically, I now had to see her pretty much every day for the rest of the school year. At first, she didn't recognize me. Puberty had hit me hard, changing my appearance drastically, especially for someone who hadn't seen me in like 5 years. Eventually, she recognized my name, and that's when the harassment began anew. All of it was snide remarks about my appearance, constantly pointing me out as an example as to what puberty can negatively do to you. Pimples, facial hair, voice cracking, that sort of stuff. To the class, as if I was the only one dealing with it. The main health teacher didn't know about it either. Basically, everyone in the 8th grade was taking this class at the time. It was technically one large class, but split up into male and female groups, and wasn't I lucky that the ex-wife got the male half. Mine. I told my mom about it immediately, and she was livid. She sent multiple emails to the school requesting that they switch teachers or at least let me take the class online. It all fell on deaf ears until, with the help of the ex-boyfriend, we showed them dozens of emails, phone calls, and messages all spouting harassment at my family and I. This resulted in her being fired from the school and basically being blacklisted from our school district and the surrounding area. If she wanted another teaching job, she would have to find it elsewhere. This resulted in a major legal battle between her and the ex-boyfriend because she had tried to move out of state with the kids without his nor the court's permission. Apparently, she lost custody of the kids and had to go back to her old job. Don't know what it was. All in all, it was an interesting experience. We cut all ties with that family after the whole ordeal and went on with our lives. I'm now a sophomore in college, waiting out the lockdown in my state. While my mom still hasn't had a long-term relationship since then, she's happier than she's been in a long time. Entitled Mom says I don't need my Xbox because I'm fat and tries to take it. Some backstory. So the entitled mom of this story was one of my dad's friends. She had a great life growing up and got a lot of the things she wanted, so she wanted the same for her kid. My parents had been great friends with her, shared a lot of their life with her, 5 years to be exact, and everything was great. Christmas had come around and I had gotten an Xbox One X as a present. I have been overweight for several years of my life and have gotten very self-conscious about it, to which makes me sensitive to comments and insults about my weight. Also, I would like to mention, entitled Brat was around 9 to 10 at the time of this story. Now for the main story. So this happened about 2 months ago. My parents invited some friends over and a family for a party. They wanted to throw one because they hadn't had one in a while, and they felt like getting some stress off their shoulders. Like the introvert I am, I stayed upstairs and played on my Xbox. My parents had invited over entitled Mom, and she brought entitled Brad because his dad was away for a couple of days because he had to go to an interview. After a lot of the people left, some people stayed for a little while. This included entitled Mom and entitled Brad. My mom told entitled Brad that I was upstairs and he could hang out with me because he was very bored from hanging out with the adults. He came upstairs and into my room. Entitled Kid.
What are you doing, OP?
Me. I'm playing some Minecraft.
Can I try?
Now, me being a softie for kids and being nice to them, I offered to let him play. He played for an hour or so when I asked him to stop so I could keep playing. I'm sorry, but I will have to admit I'm kind of addicted to video games, so I was a little impatient. Me. Hey, entitled Brad, it's my turn now.
No, I want to keep playing.
Me. But it's my Xbox, and if I want to play, you have to let me.
You can't tell me what to do. You're not my mom.
But it's my Xbox, and I want to play, so I'm going to play, whether you like it or not. Now that was a big mistake on my end for saying that. That caused entitled Brad to start to whine that he wants to play. Me. Well, it's my turn to play, so move it along now. I pushed him to the side of me so I could start playing some Sky Wars. He started throwing a tantrum saying,
I want to play. It's my turn.
Stuff like that. Entitled Mom heard his whining and came upstairs to see what was happening. Entitled Mom.
OP, what is going on?
Me. I'm trying to get entitled Brad to move over and let me play on my Xbox because he already had a turn. He played for an hour.
Oh, just let him play, OP. You get to play this every day while he doesn't even have an Xbox.
Me. It's my Xbox, and if I want to play, I'm going to play.
Oh, come on. You don't even need that Xbox in the first place.
What?
You're already fat enough. And if you have this Xbox every day, you'll just get fatter and fatter for the rest of your life.
Now that comment really tilted me off my foundation because I hate any comment or insult that has to do with my weight. And I retaliated. Me. Then why don't you buy your son his own Xbox? That thought ever struck your empty mind? Entitled Mom, clearly shocked about what I had said.
How dare you swear in front of my son?
Why can't I? I don't have the right to? Entitled Mom.
Listen here, punk. I am not having any of this crap from you. Understand? Now let my son play on your stupid Xbox.
Me. No. Entitled Brad.
Mommy, I want to play on the Xbox.
Entitled Mom.
I know, honey. Just give Mommy a second, okay?
Entitled Brad starts fake crying, trying to make it as believable as possible because he knows his mother will chew anyone out if he's upset because of them.
Look what you did to my baby. You're making him cry. Just let him play on the Xbox, you insolent jerk.
Now my mom starts hearing entitled Mom screeching and runs upstairs. Mom, what the heck is going on up here?
Your rude kid just made my poor boy cry because he won't let him play on the Xbox. Just tell him that he is wrong and entitled Brad should play.
Mom. Look, entitled Mom, it's not my decision on who gets to play on the Xbox. It's OP's.
But it was a gift. You bought it for him.
And now it's his property. Got a problem with that? Entitled Mom sighs, probably one of the loudest and most overly dramatic sighs I've ever heard. We all settle down and go downstairs. After 30 minutes downstairs, entitled Mom says that entitled Brad has to go to the bathroom and she goes with him. Me. What the heck? Isn't he like 9? He should be able to go on his own. Sheesh. After we play Monopoly for 10 minutes, we hear a loud thunk from upstairs and whining from entitled Brad. Me. Oh no. I go upstairs, and who better to be there than entitled Mom with my Xbox sitting on the carpet, cables ripped out of the outlets, TV nearly tilted off my dresser. Me. What the heck are you doing, entitled Mom?
You don't deserve this Xbox, you rude jerk.
Give me my Xbox back, now! While I'm arguing with entitled Mom, I hear some fast footsteps go down the stairs and clunking of plastic and metal in a paper bag. Entitled Brad just ran off with my controllers. My dad notices entitled Brad running down the stairs with the bag and stops him. Dad, what you got there, little man?
Nothing.
Let me see that. He opens the bag to find all 3 of my controllers. Dad, And why do you have OP's Xbox controllers? Entitled Brad.
Because my mommy told me to take them.
He tries getting past my dad to get out of the house, but he stops him. What? Give me that bag and come with me. He comes to my room to see my Xbox on the ground with the cables on top of it, and me and Entitled Mom arguing. Dad. What's going on in here, OP? Me. This crazy lady's trying to take my Xbox. She also insulted me on my weight. Dad. Entitled Mom. You know that OP is sensitive.
I don't care. He's a rude and ignorant little jerk who doesn't care about other people.
My dad is very protective of me for several reasons. Because of how fragile I am, because of how bad my mental health was at the time, and also he's very supportive. My dad doesn't approve of anyone talking about me like that. Get out, Entitled Mom.
No, I'm not leaving until I have that
I said get out!
My dad is a very intimidating guy. Even though he isn't over 6 feet, he is a powerhouse when it comes to strength overall. Entitled Mom flees my house empty-handed with her brat. Dad. Look, OP. Don't take what Entitled Mom said to heart, okay? You're a very smart and caring boy, and your weight doesn't matter, so don't worry about it. Me. Thanks, Dad. I finally snapped on a Karen. Recently found me a job that I really enjoy. I worked both my old job at the restaurant and my new one for a while till I was able to fully start the new job. It's been a couple of weeks since I quit the restaurant and I went in to pick up my last check. They're doing to-go orders only, like a lot of places are right now. I went up to the cashier station and my friend was the only person working and one cook. So I just started talking to her about what had been going on and my new job and stuff while she got my check from under the counter. The kitchen yelled, "Order up!" That echoed through the whole empty restaurant, so she went to grab the order and I stayed at the front waiting for her to come back. I was standing next to the cashier stand, not behind it. A car pulled up and parked in front of the restaurant in a handicap spot, and I noticed they didn't have any stickers to park there. I recognized the lady from when I used to work there. She's a total Karen jerk that every single person working here hated her. She always had many complaints and almost never tipped. She would come in with a group of 2 to 3 more Karens and run the waitress around for 2 hours and then not tip her. She even made a new girl cry one day. So I started to walk to the back to get my friend, and so Karen wouldn't say anything to me, but she obviously recognized me from when I worked here. Some of this is paraphrased because I was so angry I don't remember exactly word for word. Karen screaming red in the face.
I want a refund. I'm so fed up with you all not knowing how to do your job.
Me. Let me get someone to help.
No, you will give me my money back right this second. I'm never coming back here again. That girl said she checked the order, but it's wrong. I was here a few minutes ago and ordered grilled catfish, and there's no tartar sauce in it. How am I supposed to eat fish with no tartar sauce? And I never got the Dr. Pepper I paid for.
She looked like she's about to explode with anger. I was starting to feel angry too. Karen.
And then I drove here twice already. I want my money for the gas I wasted.
Me. Okay, just let me go get someone to help you. I will admit I said it in a snappy way. I do not appreciate anyone talking to me like that. She noticed and immediately started cussing me out, and my friend came out from the back asking what happened. Karen starts yelling at her, and I went to the back. I quickly asked the cook for tartar sauce while I made a Dr. Pepper, and then walked back up to Karen, as she was still demanding a refund and $50 for gas. There's no way she used $50 of gas. She's insulting my friend and saying I was rude to her. I just want to say that what I'm about to do, some of you might think is wrong, but after working years in customer service and having to put up with little jerks like her, I saw this as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to finally give them a taste of their own medicine. I mean, what are they going to do? Fire me? I don't work here anymore. Me. Nobody likes you. You are the biggest jerk I've ever met. She looked at me wide-eyed, frozen in shock. Me. You really think it's okay to just come here and not tip? And then treat everyone like they are worthless? Why are you like this? Always such a nasty attitude, thinking you're better than everyone. I'm sorry your life is so miserable that you constantly have to put others down. Here's your stuff, and you can shove it. I set the tartar sauce and the drink on the counter. Not going to lie, I really thought about throwing it at her. Then I just walked out with my check before she could say a word to me. Although I think she was stunned silent, no one probably has ever talked to her narcissistic self like that before. I went home and started telling my boyfriend about it, and before I could even get a few sentences out, the owner of the store is calling me. He wanted me to apologize, and I said no way. So now I'm forever banned from going back there. My friend said that Karen threw the biggest fit after I left, screaming for the manager and the owner, and she almost called the police. Really happy I didn't throw that drink at her now. I did feel bad for leaving her with that mess, but she said she was thoroughly entertained by the situation, and she wishes she could have cussed her out too. I really wish I said more to Karen, because on my way home I thought all kinds of stuff I could have said. I think this has been building in me for a while, and I finally snapped. Honestly, I do not regret a single word I said to her. How a meatball sub ended in divorce. While at my Subway store, I'm the manager. Our franchise general manager comes in to do a review of my employees, and I received a call from another nearby store of ours in need of some product. So I head out to transfer the product to another store, so the first part of this is all secondhand from our general manager. My big burly closer has a middle-aged Karen, haircut and all, come in. She's ordered food for herself and her husband in the car. My general manager can see them both from his seat in the lobby. He's watching my closer make the sandwich via our cameras while paying attention to his customer service, correct questions, politeness, etc. She orders a club for herself and a meatball sandwich for her husband. She proceeds to ask for a little extra sauce and then piles it full of toppings he had asked for. Gets rather demanding as my closer is adding the toppings per Subway regulation, even for extra, making her ask multiple times. Of course, my general manager is in the store, and I'm not there to take the heat if he doesn't. Something I did for my employees, especially him, since I relied on him to keep my already long work weeks below 80 hours when people called out. Man's a saint of patience. She's rude, but nothing abnormal for fast food. She takes her food. Husband and Karen proceed to go home to eat. I return from the other store and sit with our general manager in the dining area. We go over what went down while I was gone, how my closer did. Fantastic, of course. And he catches me up on the owner's focus for the store and drama from other stores. He used to be my manager for a year before we both got promoted. Then in comes Karen's husband, the poor divorcee. He comes in livid, swinging our front door hard enough I thought it was going to slam against the store next door's windows. He starts, "Do you know what you've done?" pointing to my closer, who is twice his size by the way, and usually a gentle giant. Closer, is there something I can help you with? He's obviously confused, considering he could not have seen the husband sitting in the car. Husband, "Yeah, you can pay my alimony and buy me a new house. She's going to take me for everything, and it's all your fault. I'm going to sue you, the store, the owner, Subway." General manager and I stand up to handle it. My general manager rests his hand on my shoulder and tells me he has this. General manager, "Sir, what exactly has happened?" "Your employee put too much sauce on my sandwich. It fell out onto my pants, and my wife got angry. The argument ended with us getting a divorce. You are going to pay for it." General manager, "Oh, sure, I'm sorry to hear about that. I'd be happy to give you a free sandwich." "Free sandwich? What?" General manager, "But," holding up a hand to have husband let him finish, "if meatball sauce on your pants is causing a divorce, I hate to tell you that your marriage had problems long before this." Karen's husband then spills an incoherent set of sounds before storming out and peeling out of our parking lot. In the end, Karen's husband sent in a complaint to corporate. Our corporate contact came in the next month for his inspection and asked me about it. I brought up the cameras and audio of the evening. He chuckled and smiled. Corporate, "Please email this to me too, will you?" Me, "Sure. May I ask why?" Corporate, "One, proves we have no fault in this divorce in case of suit. 2, and most importantly, it's hilarious, and my coworkers have to see this." So that's how a meatball sub ended a marriage. Customer tried to get me to hurt myself. This happened about 6 years ago when I was working for a well-known high street fashion retailer as an assistant department manager. I was working at the till, training a new starter, when a woman strolled up, placed a shoebox on the counter, opened the lid, took out a boot, and asked me to put my hand all the way inside. "Why would you like me to do that?" was my response.
Just do it.
She demanded. I kept refusing politely, all the while asking her why she wanted me to do that. She got madder and madder, and louder, and this attracted the attention of staff and customers alike, including my manager. She knew I could handle things, so she stayed out of it, but waited to see what was going on. After maybe 5 to 7 minutes of this repetitive back and forth, The woman screamed.
Because there's a metal spike in the toe, and I wanted you to get hurt like I did.
So, you're telling me that because of a manufacturing defect that caused you pain, you thought it was okay to try and bully me into getting hurt too?
Why not? It's only right.
Well, a normal person would have come in, told us about the fault, we'd have been deeply apologetic, and then tried to make amends in some way. But you chose to try and inflict bodily harm on an innocent person? She then swung at me, trying to claw me with her nails. I dodged that, just as my manager and another colleague grabbed her from behind and restrained her. The police were called, and she was carted off. Sadly, I never learned what became of her. On later inspection, the metal spike turned out to be a small plastic shard or spur of some kind, maybe 2 millimeters long at most. It was a bit jagged and slightly sharp. Entitled mom tries to get me to give my Easter basket to her kids. I live in an apartment complex with my boyfriend. I work overnights, so usually I'm asleep during most of the day. Yesterday, my boyfriend went out and bought stuff to make up an Easter basket for me, something we did for each other last year, but hadn't really talked about doing this year because of what's going on. He set the basket up and left it in the passenger seat of my car for me to find when I went to work. This morning, I got home around 7:30, and as I was walking through the parking lot, a couple of the neighbor kids were playing outside. I'm pretty sure they're brothers, as I always see them together. And I passed them to go upstairs while carrying my basket. The basket itself is a pink wicker basket. It had a small pink stuffed bunny, a giant lollipop set, a chocolate bunny, and plenty of colored eggs in it. I had just taken a melatonin and put my sleep mask on to try to get to bed when I hear a knock at my door. My boyfriend is fast asleep, so I figured I might as well look through the peephole to see if it was an Amazon delivery or something. I peek through and see my neighbor from over the stairs, so I open it up. The two boys from earlier were by her door watching our conversation. Entitled mom.
My boys said you had an Easter basket.
Me. Yeah?
Okay, so give it to them.
Me. I'm sorry?
Give them the Easter basket. You're an adult. Why do you even have one?
Me. I'm not going to give your kids my Easter basket.
Well, why not? Do you not like Jesus or something?
I stood there for a second with a confused look on my face before she snapped.
Give them the basket already.
Me. Look, I've lived here almost a year. I see your kids all the time, and I've never really interacted with them. But they seem like okay kids. Even if that is true though, I don't have to give them anything, especially not something that was given to me as a gift. If they want Easter baskets, and you want them to have Easter baskets, why don't you buy the supplies and make them up yourself?
Why would I have to do that when there's one already made up here?
Because it isn't yours?
Well, I'm sure it'll get much better use if my boys have it rather than you. Hand it over, or I'm going to call the police and tell them some girl from my apartment stole their basket.
Me. You might think it'll get more use from your kids than it will for me, but it's all sweets that I'm going to eat to keep me awake during my 12-hour shift tonight. The one I need to go to sleep before if you would leave me be. After that, I closed the door in her face. I could actually hear her through the door give off one of those partial groan, partial screams that she actually called the police on speaker right outside of my door. So I called the non-emergency line and said if a woman called about someone from my address stealing her kid's Easter basket, police still haven't shown up, and now it's time for me to snooze. Happy Easter, all. It's possible the police did show up after I fell asleep, but if so, I have no recollection of it. Melatonin knocks me out, and it's hard to wake me up even without it. So if anyone would have answered the door, it would have been my boyfriend, who also used to be a police officer. To those of you saying I should have slammed the door in her face right after she asked, you're right. I wish I had, so I wouldn't have had to deal with such stupidity when I was so tired already. To those of you saying I shouldn't have opened the door regardless because of what's going on, you're also right. The only reason I opened the door was because I recognized her as my neighbor, and I know she's a single mother with 3 kids in her home. And to my knowledge, she isn't working at the moment, so I thought she was just coming to ask for something, like milk or a couple eggs or something, which I would have probably given her if that were the case. To those of you saying to report her to my apartment management, my boyfriend has been living in this complex for over 5 years and is very close with management. So if anyone would report anything he or I did, management would call him and ask, "Hey, what happened with so-and-so?" But we reported our upstairs neighbor for things and nothing has been done about it. Those of you saying just report it for a paper trail, I've lived in the apartment almost a year and haven't had an issue with the family until today. So I don't think much more will happen with her. Or at least I hope not. Her kids are in middle school, which starts at around 7-something in the morning here. So they're used to being awake as early as 7:30. It's possible they haven't stopped their school alarms and are still waking up early in the morning. And before the craziness, I'd seen them playing in the parking lot as I got home from work multiple mornings. Nobody usually bothers them when they play, and when they see a car coming through the lot, they grab whatever they're playing with and move to the side for the car to get through. They seem to be very respectful, as every time I've been outside to clean out my car or just walk through the lot to get my mail, they step aside and stop playing so they don't hit anyone with their ball. Usually a football or basketball, some occasions a soccer ball. Return of the crazy Walmart Karen who ran over my foot. So, I posted a story ages and ages ago about how a woman ran over my foot at Walmart with a motorized cart. After this happened, she was banned from our local Walmart and from a few in the area, which I forgot to mention. I got fed up with the comments. First of all, gonna update on my injured foot. I was just fine. Lots and lots of bruising and the occasional pain still, but I did take a little break and stayed off for a bit. I'm all healed now. Second, guess who managed to show her face again? Crazy lady. And I guess she figured out the easy trick of changing her appearance a bit and came with someone else and went back in. No issues. My Walmart is usually good about this kind of stuff, but I guess not this time. Third, this was not very recent. And of course, I just so happened to be there again with my blue lanyard, a pair of jeans, and a sweatshirt. I was shopping around, picking up a few unnecessary objects. I saw her staring at me at one point and waved, earning no reaction other than a scoff. I knew she looked familiar, but I couldn't place her face. I work 3 jobs, and I see about a bazillion different faces a day, and have trouble remembering unless I see that person more than a few times. What I didn't notice for a while, because I'm very unobservant, was that she was following me. For how long, I don't know, but I noticed I was seeing her everywhere. The auto center, office supplies, dairy, baking supplies, even toys. I didn't know what she wanted from me. She had another woman with her too. Dark-haired, bob cut, dark makeup, and a low-cut t-shirt with tight jeans and heels. She just had this dark scowl on her face as they followed me. I didn't recognize her either, until I heard Crazy Lady's voice. That horrible, shrill sound that haunted my nightmares when my foot hurt and sent chills down my spine and dogs running. We were in the craft aisle where I was looking for a specific type of paint. I noticed them again, and I guess I looked a little too long. Crazy Lady turned to who I will call the entitled lady and grabbed a paintable sign at random. Crazy Lady, loudly,
Look at this, entitled lady. Doesn't this just look perfect?
That made my brain do a 360. Dear God, why was she here? She wasn't supposed to be here. Entitled lady.
Oh, Mom, it's great.
She turned to me.
Isn't this just wonderful?
I gave a quick nod, grabbing the next best thing to what I needed. Needed matte fabric paint, if you're curious. I grabbed slick instead and started to leave. They kept following me, and I grabbed a pair of jeans and hid in a changing room. It felt like an eternity waiting for the door to be unlocked, but luckily, Crazy Lady's scooter got stuck. I sat on the bench and waited to see if I lost them, but suddenly, bang, bang! I couldn't help but scream as the flimsy door to the changing room nearly fell off its hinge. Entitled lady.
Get out here. We know who you are. You owe my mother for what you did.
Bang, bang! I just sat in the corner and watched in horror as the door fell to the ground. I had to put my hands up to catch it and push it away, otherwise it would have landed on my head. She looks at the ripped apart wall from where the hinges had been ripped off, and she shrugged before climbing over and getting in my face. Entitled lady.
You will be coming with me. You owe my mother compensation for getting her banned.
Me, shrinking into the corner. No, I won't. Leave me alone. Your mother shouldn't be here if she's banned. I probably shouldn't have said that, because it more than likely prompted what happened next. But I've never been one to say the right thing. Entitled lady grabbed me by my hair and pulled me out of the changing room, pulling me over to Crazy Lady, who was sitting there looking smug. Entitled lady literally threw me on the ground by pushing on my head and letting me go.
Apologize, now.
I sat there shaking, and both ladies started shouting again, screaming that I owed them. Thankfully, this didn't last too long, as the associate who was posted at the changing room, they never stuck around long once someone was in the change room or if no one was around, and another worker came over, separating the three of us. While the associate was helping me off the floor, Crazy Lady actually got up from her motorized scooter and tried to lunge at me. I held my hand out so that it caught her and pushed her back. She started screaming about how I assaulted her, and one of the associates pretty much told her to shut up and wait for the police. Well, they showed up, and since there were a few security cameras nearby, of all the things, this Walmart is concerned with things being stolen via changing room tricks, and a few witnesses, including the poor lady in the room next to me, who was so scared that someone was coming for her next. Apparently, when the door fell, the corner of the door cracked the wall to her room. And due to what happened last time, and even despite how I usually react to these kinds of things, I pressed charges. Hopefully, I won't have to deal with this kind of thing happening again. Having to re-meet the entitled people in my life might be worse than meeting more. Treat prank calls seriously? Okay, have fun making 200 extra large pizzas. I work in a major pizza delivery chain that has so far been unsuccessful in out-pizzaing the HUD. Our store is in a college town, and everyone is bored as heck right now for obvious reasons. So we've gone from maybe one prank call a day to at least 3 to 5, which isn't much, but still really annoying with how much more business we've been getting, again, for obvious reasons. The worst part is how uncreative and low effort most of them are. At least 80% of them are, "Can I get a boneless pizza?" Or, "Is this the Krusty Krab?" with the occasional insert GTA fast food order copy pasta here. This has been going on way too long, so I took up the habit of just hanging up whenever someone starts saying something stupid. The boss wasn't too happy about this, but didn't care enough to say anything until an incident where I hung up on someone who wanted that boneless pizza, and he called back upset because he actually wanted to order. So I get a stern talking to from boss man, and he sends a message to the company's group chat app saying, "I know we've been getting more prank calls than usual, but please don't follow in certain people's footsteps and just hang up on them. Take the calls as seriously as possible. If they order something we can't make, calmly explain it to them and offer them something we do actually sell. We want to try to make money off of them, even if they are acting dumb." So the very next call is where the fun starts. "Thank you for calling. What can I get you?" "I'm so hungry. Can I get an extra large pizza with triple every topping?" "I'm sorry, ma'am. We can only go up to 1 extra and double each topping." Okay then. Can I get 20 extra larges of each meat y'all have? Like 20 pepperoni, 20 sausage, etc.? It's obviously a prank, and there's giggling in the background the whole time. "Sure, give me a sec to ring it all up." "Okay, so that's 180 pizzas. The total will be $1,000. Don't remember the actual price, but close enough. And it'll take about 3 hours. "Awesome, thanks. We'll pay with a check when we get there." Dial tone. So I place the order, and not 30 seconds later, I hear, "What the heck?" from the boss, and he runs to the computer. "How are they paying for this?" he asks me. They said with a check. We do still take checks for orders over $200, right? They can't have been serious. Was this a prank call? Not sure, boss. You said take all calls seriously. He just grumbles and picks up the phone and calls the customer, and all I hear is super loud laughter as he hangs up. Meanwhile, other employees have started actually making the ridiculous order, not noticing anything weird about it. So by the time the boss finishes the call and cancels the order on the computer, there are already 5 extra large pepperoni pizzas in the oven. So we got free dinner for everyone working that night, as well as another message in the group chat app simply saying, "In regards to my last message, please just use good judgment when taking orders." Entitled mom throws trash when I refuse to let her son ride in my car. Yesterday, I was asked to drive my car in a little Easter Bunny parade that went past the homes of kids in the community with disabilities. The point of this was to bring a little happiness without getting close. I wasn't there to give rides. We were very clear about this point. The car in question is my very loved 1979 Corvette C3 that my son and I have been taking pride in restoring. She's loud, fun, and very delicate in places due to age. The passenger side door does not lock at the moment, and I had the T-tops off. There are 5 cars in our little parade. I'm third, right in front of the truck with the guy in the bunny suit. We were going to drive past 7 homes in the community. Most were sitting outside enjoying the sunshine when we came by and waved, laughed at us. We had stopped for a minute and move on to the next address. It was fun, until we pulled up to Karen's house and her 3 kids ran up to the bunny truck and tried to climb in the back. They were all screaming for candy, which we did not have. After several minutes of all of us yelling at Karen to get her kids, they backed up, making unhappy noises and complaining. I noticed her kid, who was about 11 or 12, looking at my car, and then he walked over. Entitled kid. Hey, I like your car. He put his hands on the door. Me. Thank you. Do you remember what we just said? No getting close because people are sick. He didn't move. I need you to move away from my car. He didn't. Entitled kid. I want a ride. Can I have a ride? My mom says that no one's sick. I want a ride. He starts trying to get the door open, which isn't easy in that car as the mechanism needs work and you have to push in from the top and pull. He gets frustrated and kicks the door panel. Me. Hey, knock it off. Do not kick my car. He kicks the door again and starts whining that he's bored and wants a ride. No way! I'm not giving you a ride! Entitled kid tries yanking on the door again, then walks to his mother. He pulls her over to my car. Entitled mom.
My son wants to ride with you. Open the door.
Me. I don't want anyone riding in my car, let alone a kid that just kicked my door. Move him away.
Stop being a jerk and just let him sit beside you for a minute. Not like I'm telling you to let him drive. He's not old enough yet.
She tries the handle and the door clicks open. I grab the handle inside and slam it back closed. Me. Get away from my car. Do not open the door again. Entitled mom laughs.
Come here, entitled kid.
She picks up her brat and tries to lift him into the car through the open tops. His feet walk up to the door, but he doesn't make it in before his mom slips and they both fell backwards. Naturally, it's my fault this happens. She gets herself up and starts screaming at me, which alerts the others, and her, I assume, husband who comes over. Husband. Entitled mom, what are you doing? Me. Sir, would you please get these 2 away from my car before they cause any damage? I do not want entitled kid to ride with me. Entitled mom says something I don't understand. Husband. Entitled kid, go back to the house now. Entitled mom.
What? He just wants a ride.
She and her son finally walk away. Husband. Sorry about that, ma'am. She gets an idea and she just can't let go of it. Me. It's okay, as long as my car isn't damaged. He nods and walks off. This exchange only took about 5 minutes or so. We were all ready to leave for the next house. As I was pulling away, something fell into the seat beside me. An empty can. Entitled mom was digging crap out of her trash can and was throwing it at me. Entitled parent demands we stop eating. Backstory. It was my cousin's birthday, and she wanted to go out to eat at the Texas Roadhouse. It's kind of like the Longhorn Steakhouse, or if any of you know what that is, but it's with country music and sports. The one I went to was a private room with no windows, other than the one with the view of the city. The room had just enough space for one party at a time, so we were the only ones there. We were eating for a long time because of the birthday, but then I saw her. Enter the entitled parent. So we've got me, my mom, my dad, my aunts 1 and 2, my uncle, the entitled parent, the manager, my cousin 1, the birthday girl, my cousin 2, and my big brother. I saw the entitled parent walk up to the table briskly. She had a bright pink purse and what looked like a clear Axe bottle spray bottle filled with something. Her 2 kids, who seemed about 8 to 10, walked in tow. Entitled parent.
Hello, are you the people that have been eating for an hour?
Dad. Yes, it's cousin's birthday and we're waiting for dessert. Entitled parent.
Me and my kids are very hungry. Please leave now. I had a reservation for this room and I have been waiting for an hour.
We knew this was BS because when we booked the room, we said we were going to be there for at least 2 hours. Me. Just wait. It's packed today, but please leave us alone. Entitled parent.
Shut up, brat. You're just selfish and you don't want my babies to eat.
Everyone but me, my dad, my brother, and my 2 cousins started whispering to each other. Brother. Just leave us alone so we can celebrate her birthday. The entitled parent storms off and the 10-year-old apologized for his mom. We thought that was it, but right when dessert came to the table is when entitled parent stormed over.
Eat quickly.
Dad, leave us alone or I'll get management. Entitled parent reached for her clear bottle. She then stated it was a spray bottle of vinegar and said that if we don't leave at that moment, she'll spray us. You would think it's not that bad, but apple cider vinegar is not that nice. Dad, we're not leaving. Entitled mom then starts spraying. We all got up and ran for management, but my dad fought back. When the manager came over, he saw my dad having entitled parent pinned to the ground and the bottle far away on the floor. Manager, what is happening? Dad, she tried to spray us.
This man tried to hurt me, then he beat me up.
Entitled parent 2's kids stepped in. Kid 1, no, that's not true. He looked like he was like 10. Kid 2, Mommy tried to force them to stop eating. Manager, is this true? We all agreed. Entitled parent started denying it, so then the manager brought us to the camera room and she was forced to watch as she was proved wrong. The kid's dad was called and he picked them up. The cops were called and asked if we wanted to press charges. My dad said yes, and we went on with the dessert. The manager already took the desserts and got us fresh ones. The entire meal was free, and he apologized for the accident. We also saw people leave because of the smell from the bottle of vinegar. This may seem fake, but I assure you this was not. The experience sucked, but at the end we got a free meal. My family still jokes about it, and it's something we'll never forget. I still can't believe that happened. Does it look like I work here? Backstory. I work at a Texas Roadhouse as a waiter. My friend is a Papagino's assistant manager. The uniform shirts are alike, but my uniform is a black button-up with the logo on the chest, while theirs is a black t-shirt with a name on the back. Story time. Now my friend was in another state for a couple months, and I couldn't see her for a while, but got word of her coming back today. So after work, I drove to her work and asked the manager if I could go into the break room and wait for her. I got the nod of, sure, but don't cause trouble while I clock out. I'm well known by the casuals in the store, and they know I'm not an employee, and I don't want to work at a pizza place. Not a big fan, to be honest. I'm still in uniform, and to keep my purple hair, important for later, out of the way of my eyes. Let's get to the juicy part of the story. I had walked out and went to pay and grab a drink for myself till I saw my old babysitter, an old lady who was a good friend of the family, and I walked over to see how she's been doing over the years. At this moment, a new customer walks into the building and sees the lines full of people, employees in the back making and cooking the pizzas. Lo and behold, there was my small, comedic, expressive self chatting with someone. The guy stays in line, and before even making his order, he complains about me and asks for the manager without thought. All of this going down, I think it's someone being mad about the pizza not being like Domino's or something. After a little longer, I say my goodbyes to the old woman and clean the table, inner waiter instincts, and head back to the break room. As I walk by, a cashier asks me to cover for a little bit while they get a shipment of supplies or something, I forget. So I sit at the register and have a notepad in hand and took orders. I had to take a minute with the register, which the casuals found amusing to watch me struggle, which I didn't mind entirely, because they know I didn't do this. Once it clears up more, the star to the show steps up. This man has to be over 6 feet, and I'm about 5'4" to 5'5", so he towers over me. We've got Angry Guy, we've got me, and we've got my best friend. Angry Guy. Now you want to work? Me. Now what? Don't play dumb. I saw you talking to some old lady instead of helping earlier when it was packed, and they needed your help. This is why I am the best at my job if I was working to do skits. I play along to my own idiotic desires and wanted to mess with the man to see how long till it hit him that I didn't work here. Me. Sorry to break it to you, sir, but I am dumb because apparently I work at a pizza shop. Angry Guy. Listen here, you little brat. I want to get home and not waste my time with things like you. Me. Well, that must be horrible to think you can't leave till you get your food. I'll take your order. What would you like? Angry Guy looks at me with a confused and angered look. My uniform is disgustingly different from the shirts the others have, and my visor hat was also blatantly saying my job, which I thought was pretty obvious. I guess I was wrong. Angry Guy. Can I get something pizza and something breadsticks and blah blah blah? Me. Sorry, sir, but we don't serve pizza or breadsticks. How about these items from the menu at Texas Roadhouse? Or how about a dessert? Angry Guy was now getting mad. I just want a pizza. Me. Welcome to Texas Roadhouse. I was now just messing with him. This whole me messing with him went on for 10 minutes before my friend came in and almost cried laughing as she calls from the door. When did Roadhouse become a pizza house? Me. Well, aren't you clever? I sarcastically say and gesture to the man. He won't let me take his order. You try. Entitled neighbor called the cops on us for cleaning our home. So my boyfriend and I moved into an apartment in August. It's older, so the floors are super creaky. According to our lease, we're obligated to cover 90% of any room with carpet, except bathroom and kitchen, to help with the noise. It turned out our apartment was previously managed as a dorm by the local college, so the floors already have a layer of super thin, crappy carpet. We also laid down more rugs to help with noise cancellation. Our downstairs neighbor moves in about a month later, and within a month of that, starts banging on her ceiling when we get too rowdy. The first couple times it happened super late in the living room. Our apartments have the same plan. We were moving around after midnight the first time. Later, she came to talk to us and asked us to keep it down at night. Sure, fair enough. The next time was when we walked in from the airport at 10 p.m. She came up, banged on the door, and talked over my explanation. I told her I was sorry and asked when she was hearing the noise, assuming it was just the cat running around at night. No, she tells me that she knows it's not the cat. She knows it's us, and she doesn't live alone. Okay, weird, but whatever. We started going to bed earlier as we settled into the apartment and our jobs, but the banging only continued. For months, she would hit the ceiling / our floor whenever we walked around. Bed at 10? Bang! Wake up at 5:30 for work? Bang! Sitting on the couch but decide you want snacks? Bang! Around Christmas, she comes up to our door again. My boyfriend answered, and this time I recorded, and I'm so glad I did. This woman came up and looked my boyfriend in the eye and said,
You have to stop following me.
What?
I know it's not the cat or your dog or your girlfriend, because I know your footsteps. I don't know how you figured it out, but you figured out how to listen to me where I am, and you're following me around my apartment, and I'm sick of it.
My boyfriend calmly responded that she sounds crazy and that we don't care about her. She again reminded us that she doesn't live alone. Her boyfriend is a small Latino man in his 60s who is very polite and has never said a word to us. Cool, she's insane, whatever. The banging continued with us stomping every time we heard it. She didn't like that, but it made it more fun. We had already explained the situation to the landlord and the super, and they were on our side. Our town was the first to be locked down, so for the first few days, the banging gradually increased until one day this woman lost her mind. I'll admit that we're early risers on the weekends. On this particular Sunday, we ended up waking up super early, but not doing much for the first few hours. We drank some coffee and sat on the couch until almost 11. At that point, we decided to get up and clean our apartment. Homegirl went crazy. She had to be running from one end of her apartment to the other. She's banging her ceiling so hard that we're convinced she's damaging it. At one point, I hear what sounds like muffled yelling after she's followed me into the bedroom. We had plans that day, so we ignored her, finished cleaning, and started to leave. She must have been waiting for us to leave, because for the first time ever, she walked out of her apartment right as we go to her landing. I was holding the dog while waiting for my boyfriend to come down as she starts to descend the stairs. Of course, she decides to turn around and say something. Crazy lady.
Tell your boyfriend to cut it out.
Me. Cut what out? Walking? You're hitting the ceiling because of me and the dog moving, not him. Crazy lady continues to spew some other dumb crap as my boyfriend gets down to me. She proceeded to stay exactly 3 steps ahead of him, slowing us all the way down the stairs. She tried to block us going out the door at the bottom, but backed off when he just didn't stop moving. She's continuing to yell at him all the way to the parking lot. Of myself and my boyfriend, he's typically the hothead while I'm the calm one. Amazingly, he kept his calm the whole time, calling her only a crazy lady and ignoring her as he walked past her and her car to the dumpster. As I passed her car, she decided to continue talking to me, and I was just upset, so I didn't engage. Crazy lady.
I'm serious. It's done.
Me. Okay, what do you want us to do? Crawl? I already told you, we have a 60-pound dog, and we're all just walking around. crazy lady talking while I talked, so I don't hear everything.
And you need to remember that I don't live alone.
Me. Okay, jerk. Neither do I. You see my boyfriend right there, so what's your point? By the way, that's the third or fourth time you've said that, and that could be taken as a threat.
You think it's a threat? Fine, it is.
Me. Cool, I'm calling the cops.
Okay, me too.
We both call the cops and they pull up. They talk to her first and then come talk to us. I don't know what she told them, but when they came to talk to us, I told them everything she had said and done for the past 6 months. The officer explained that it was a civil matter that would have to be dealt with by the landlord, but assured us that they explained to her that it is perfectly acceptable to walk around your apartment at 11 a.m. on a Sunday. They also told her not to knock on our door ever again and that she's not allowed to bang on our floors over footsteps at any point. For a couple nights, she got back at us by banging at 1:30 a.m. to wake us up. We had already reached out to the landlord again, and this time he told us he'd see what her problem is. That's still not the last of his troubles with her though. We ended up talking to the people that live below her and telling them about the banging. It turns out they've heard it this whole time and had no idea what it was. Now that they know, they've also reported her to the landlord. The banging has stopped. We don't expect her lease to be renewed, and we may end up in a better apartment in the next couple of months. Edit. A few comments have tried to paint my neighbor as an innocent in this. I want to clarify that she made direct threats to me when I apologized and told her we'd take care of it. That was the first time she met me, and all I did was apologize and say we'd fix it. She was never trying to be friendly and work it out. We have never engaged her. We have never provoked her. Have you ever had to deal with a crazy neighbor? And if so, how did you handle it? Karen demands I break her son out of jail. So, some quick background. I work in a county jail, and I'm the guy you want working the floor, housing units and roving. I'm pretty good at dealing with and talking to inmates, and I'm even better when we're past the point of talking. That being said, every officer is required to work a guard station at least once a month, even me. These stations are just dealing with the public, answering phones, and or opening and closing doors. Okay, cool. On one such guard station shift, Karen storms in. She's a southern kind of Karen. Totally unkempt hair, ratty clothes, at least 5 missing teeth, a criminal record that's largely drug-related charges. You know the type. She marches into my lobby and up to my bulletproof window. I hit the intercom and the following conversation ensues. Me. Can I help you? Karen.
My son, entitled kid, needs to be released right now. He's served his time and needs to come home.
Me. Looking up entitled kid on our computer. Ma'am, he's got a hold out of blah blah county. He'll have to go to court and serve time there first.
No, he needs to be released now. His time here is done. He can go to blah blah county after he comes home.
Me, already over it. Ma'am, this isn't a hotel. The law requires that he's in custody until he answers for all the crimes he's charged with. If I release entitled kid, I'll be fired and arrested.
Aren't you supposed to serve and protect?
Yes, I am. Entitled kid was charged with domestic assault and has felony charges in blah blah county. Keeping him in custody serves and protects the public.
How dare you? My son is a good boy, and he doesn't deserve this. The other inmates are threatening him. What are you gonna do to serve and protect him?
Me, suppressing a grin. Well, ma'am, I'll go ahead and make an announcement to the other inmates to leave him alone, and that he called his mother and that she's not happy with their behavior. I'm sure that won't put him in any danger.
I demand to speak to your supervisor.
Me, knowing that Sarge is about the last guy you want to upset. It would be my pleasure to let you speak to my supervisor. Sarge arrives and asks Karen what the issue is. She rants and raves for about 15, I kid you not, minutes about her sweet boy being wrongfully incarcerated. My behavior, how entitled kid is in danger and he served his time. She concluded that if we didn't release entitled kid, she would raise heck in the lobby. At this point, Sarge raises his eyebrows in a look I know pretty well. It's a look that means, I'm genuinely impressed you're this stupid. Sarge, I remember you. You've been in jail before. Wonder where entitled kid got it. Karen goes to rant again. Sarge cuts her off. So much as fart in my lobby. Jail cops are going to arrest you on disorderly. Every officer was deputized and had been through police academy and patrol to boot. Entitled kid is going to pay for what he's done on our schedule, not yours, and certainly not his. You are going to leave my jail and never come back. If you ever come back here again, you'll be charged with criminal trespass. Now why don't you go outside and play hide and go forget yourself? Karen doesn't even think about mouthing off again. She all but runs out of the lobby. Sarge and I have a laugh about it later. Amazingly, Karen never filed any complaints. Not that this would have got her anywhere. This is how the South do. Entitled shopper demands I pay for her stuff. This happened just an hour ago, and I'm laughing at the insanity and absurdity at the situation. So, as everyone is painfully aware, there's a little situation going on in the world, and we're on lockdown with the exception of going out for essential shopping. So, some backstory. My nan and I are close. She's the 5th member of our family. My dad, me, my brother, and my nan. And she's elderly, disabled, and asthmatic, so she's high risk and vulnerable. Now, I'm also severely asthmatic, and I probably shouldn't be going out shopping, but for my nan, I'm willing to risk it. So I go out to do her shopping at Morrison's. She gives me her shopping list, and I get what she needs / what's available. So this entitled shopper started off by ramming me with her trolley while I was waiting to scan my items and pay, and was invading my personal space. Very rude. So I begin placing my items on the till, and she's just glaring at me for some reason and muttering to herself about me hurrying up. I place the divider and go to start bagging my items. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I had to rush for you. So as I'm bagging my items and about to pay, the cashier continues scanning strange items that I know I wasn't buying. I ask the cashier, "What's going on? Those aren't mine." And the cashier is confused, saying there's no divider. I look up, and this entitled jerk has removed the divider, and now her items were being scanned and added to my bill. I tell the cashier, and she starts to remove the items and sort the mistake. This is when entitled shopper goes insane.
Excuse me? What are you doing?
I'm confused and tell her that her items were accidentally being scanned and thinking that the divider must have been buried in the shopping and didn't think it was a big deal as the cashier was apologetic and sorted it.
You need to pay for my shopping.
I'm just shocked and simply say, "What?" She glares at me.
My items were being scanned on your shopping, so you have to pay for them. And since you're paying for some now, you must buy my whole shopping.
I give the cashier a look and am absolutely gobsmacked. What makes you think I'm going to buy your shopping? She scoffs and continues on about how a few mistakes mean I have to pay. I pay for my items and she still stood there expectantly waiting for me to pay for her shopping. I begin to walk away and she screams for me to come back. People are now staring, so I turn and say, "Lady, I don't know you, and I don't have to buy your shopping for any reason." She then screams for security and feeds them some lie about me having to pay for her stuff. He called me over to ask what was happening, and I told him. She then went on admitting she removed the divider, thinking I wouldn't notice and I'd pay for her. Thankfully, the security guard just looked at her and told her the same thing I said, that I didn't have to. As I began walking away, she was screaming at the cashier, saying she didn't have any cash or cards on her to pay and was demanding her to honor some expired coupons. I left before anything else, so I don't know how it ended. So this lady thought she was entitled to her shopping and I had to pay for it as she didn't have any way to pay for it. Honestly, how can you be so stupid to not bring a means of paying for groceries? I'm wondering if she had tried it before and whether it worked on other people. I ain't buying someone else's shopping for no good reason. Entitled parent breaks glass all over the floor at my work and blames it on me. Backstory. When I was 17, I got a part-time job for the summer working in a restaurant where my mother worked also. It was big enough, but it was all open planning so you could see everything that was going on. This is important later. So I'm working one fine summer day and in comes entitled parent and her 2 brat kids who look to be about 8 and 10. I set them down with their menus and bring over a glass jug of ice water, as most restaurants do. As I set the jug down, her kids ask if they can have juice instead of water, and I tell them that unfortunately we are out of juice. We have dispensers in our wall that you can get the juice out of. Entitled parent calls BS to this and demands that I fill up the glass jug with juice. I then point to the empty dispensers and literally show her that we are out. At this point, her kids are screaming that they want juice, and I try to calmly tell them that we don't have any. Then entitled parent picks up the glass jug and just lets it drop to the ground, and it just shatters everywhere, then looks me in the eye and goes,
Can I speak to your manager?
However, the manager wasn't in that day, and when he's not in, my mother is in charge. So my mother comes over and asked her what was wrong. An entitled parent goes hysterical, saying that I threatened her by shattering the glass jug when they asked for juice. She then says that she's going to press charges against me and she wants me fired. But as I said before, this restaurant was all open planning, and my mother had seen everything and knew that entitled parent was lying. I'm a tall girl, nearly 6'1", and I'm 17, so my mother wasn't exactly small either. I'd say maybe 5'11", which is pretty tall. So my mother literally bends down to entitled parent's height and puts on the voice that all mothers put on when someone messes with your kid and says, I saw everything that happened, and I know that you're lying through your teeth, and you better leave before I press charges for putting my daughter at risk by shattering a glass at close proximity that could easily have hurt her. So help me God, if I decide that I want to press charges, let me tell you that you will never be able to show your face in a restaurant in this area again. My mother is pretty high up in the restaurant industry in my area, as she had been a chef in most of those restaurants. I swear, when entitled parent heard that I was the manager's daughter, her face turned so pale, I thought she was going to faint. She grabbed her kids and rushed out of the door, and thankfully, we haven't seen her since. Entitled woman tried to steal my cart. Okay, now this happened just this morning, and it's still making me angry, so I thought I'd lay it out here on Reddit to vent a little. A little bit of backstory is, I have myotonic muscular dystrophy. I've had this all my life, but symptoms do not really start to appear until your early 20s. I'm now 35, and my symptoms are quite noticeable to me, although looking at me you can't see anything is wrong. Usually my most common problem is my legs and ankles. There are good days and bad days, and sometimes really bad days. Most of the time I can endure the pain. Been dealing with it for so long, I try not to let it interfere with my daily life. But sometimes it's just not worth it, so I try to minimize it when possible. Usually when I'm not having a good day, I stay home and just try to let my aching muscles recuperate and not agitate them more so. Sometimes it takes nothing to make them ache. Sometimes it's just me being on my feet all day. It's random and sometimes without reason. Anyway, today was a bad day. My ankles are still killing me even as I write this right now, regardless of the fact that I really needed to go to the store. We finally ran out of food, and I figured that since I was driving and could grab a motorized cart at the store, I wouldn't agitate my legs and ankles too much, so I strapped on my ankle braces and decided to brave to the store. I had just recently been given a handicap place card by my neurologist, so I was happy to be able to save myself as much walking as I could. I was greatly relieved to see one last motorized cart, so I snagged it and began shopping. I wasn't going to make this a big trip. Usually my husband comes with me shopping, especially on my bad days, but he was on an on-call meeting at the time, and those can take hours sometimes. I was surprised there was toilet paper and paper towels, so I grabbed one package of each and continued on my way. I went to the soda aisle and stood up to grab a 2-liter of Dr. Pepper, and a small little old lady behind me politely asked if I could grab her some Coke on the top shelf. She was maybe 5 feet at most, and I'm about 5'7", so I moved to the side to grab her soda for her. When I took a step from my cart and grabbed the drinks, all of a sudden, some rather overweight woman sits in my cart and starts to drive away. I quickly put the drinks in the old lady's cart and run after my cart. It still had my purse and everything inside. I cringed from having to run. Even if it was a short distance, it still hurt. I placed myself in front of her. If she wanted to move, she would have to run me over. "Hey," I say loudly, "what do you think you're doing? This is my cart. You can't just take it away from me like that. It still has all my shopping inside," I say, looking at her in disbelief at what she has just done. She sneered at me.
You don't need this card. I saw you standing up just a moment ago, so you can obviously walk. I saw you earlier using a handicap spot too. You're just faking it," she said.
I was confused. Was this lady following me since the parking lot? "I'm not faking anything. Get out of my cart right now," I said firmly.
"But I need it more than you. It hurts to walk, and I could use everything in this cart, so it'll save me time. Come on, you should be nicer to your elders," she said. "Now get out of my way."
Like the conversation was over or something. Aside from the fact that sure, I might look young, but I was 35, and she was probably close to my age, if not a bit older. I'm not moving. You will get out of my cart. I am not your personal shopper, and I don't care if you're hurting. Has it ever crossed your mind I'm in pain too? And you are making it worse by stealing my cart and making me stand here. I will admit I was screaming at this point. I was near tears because I was so angry and hurting. Thankfully, a manager walked up and asked what was going on. But for once, I spoke before this horrid woman could say anything. I stood up, and when I was distracted, she stole my cart. It had my purse and all my shopping inside, and she won't give it back, and I really need it. Please, I said, wanting desperately to sit down at this point.
She's lying. This is all my stuff.
She started yelling now too. Okay, let's all calm down. He picked up my purse and asked if the purse was hers. Of course, she said.
Yes, of course, this is all mine.
Okay then, ma'am. Will you please verify your name then? He said, pulling out my wallet to look at my ID. The look on her face was priceless.
Why don't you ask her instead? Why are you asking me such a stupid question?
She was stammering. Very well, ma'am, he asked me. My name is OP, I said. Why she thought asking me was going to do anything but prove this was my cart and stuff, I have no idea. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to return this cart to this lady. It's obviously hers, and you had no right to take it, he said firmly.
I need it more.
She began to whine and scream. Get out of the cart, or I will call security and have you removed. Now, do I need to call them? I was glad he was remaining so calm. She begrudgingly got up, kicking the cart as she did, and waddled away. I happily sat back down and thanked the manager for handling the situation so well and apologized if my yelling caused a scene. No worries. Did you need any help with the rest of your shopping today? I said I was okay and almost finished, but thanked him once more after getting his name. I called Walmart earlier about how helpful he was. I got the last of my stuff without incident, and the employees were kind enough to take me to my car, load my groceries, and take the cart back for me too. Thanks for being a great Walmart, and thanks to my fellow Redditors for letting me vent. I needed that. Coworkers not doing their part, boss caught in the middle. This was some years ago when I worked for a small restaurant. I started out as a dishwasher and eventually moved to cook/prep cook, ended up working there for a couple of years. There came a point where during the busy summer months, as a dishwasher still, I would be busting my butt to make sure everything ran as smooth as possible throughout the restaurant. I'd help the servers with their tables. I'd of course clear tables as much as possible. I'd help with the kitchen staff restocking things as needed, and so on. The dishes of course were the job, but only so far as we could stretch things before closing time, after which the remaining dishes and any other things that needed doing throughout the restaurant would get taken care of. Sometimes this took some time to complete when the restaurant was super busy and things backed up really bad throughout the place. The thing is though, that while there are customers, serving them their food is the priority. So when push comes to shove, the thing that falls behind the most is always the dishes, my job. This led to a string of days, more than a week, where I was stuck in the restaurant an hour or more after close just getting all the dishes clean for the next day. One day was particularly bad when I was there until 1 a.m., several hours after close. This was partly because it had been a really busy day, but also some customers staying late and so on. My boss told me the next day, "I've noticed you've been closing later and later, and yesterday you closed way past midnight. What's the deal? I need you to close faster." I explained to her how the dishwashing took second place to the priority of serving people food, so the kitchen staff always got my help when they needed it, and the serving staff always got my help when they needed it too. However, at the end of the night, when the last customer left, the servers would finish resetting the tables, and the kitchen staff would finish restocking things for the next morning, and naturally the cleaning that needed doing all around would happen, but then everyone else left, and I was stuck there washing dishes on my own with nobody helping me. Well, that's your job. You should be able to handle it. Yes, but I help them with their jobs, so at the end of the day when they're finished, they should help me with mine, or else I'm going to be here longer, and that's just how it goes. All right, well I need you to leave earlier, so figure it out. I did figure it out. The next day, as my manager liked to call it, we were slamma-jamma, crazy busy. Dishes were even more backed up than ever before. At closing time, I told the serving staff and kitchen staff that I needed some help cleaning this up because the manager wanted me out of there earlier. They said, "Well, you can manage," and off they went. I decided I'd had enough. I left about 45 minutes worth of dishes uncleaned and took off at the appropriate time I was supposed to be done by. The next morning, the kitchen staff were quite upset because they obviously didn't have the things all finished and had to do some extra work to get it clean. My manager called me into the office to have a talk when I arrived later that day. "So, you left earlier and left a bunch of stuff dirty in the dish pit. Is this going to be a problem?" "You told me to leave on time. I did the best I could. The options were stay later or leave on time and leave some dirty dishes behind for the morning staff to clean." Manager: "You can't get those dishes done in that much time?" Me: "The dishwasher has a limited capacity, so that's the limit for some dishes. But pots and pans, things the kitchen uses mostly, can be hand washed more easily. The same is true for some of the serving staff stuff. In fact, a lot of that has to be hand washed regardless. Here's what happens. First, the front end gets slammed. Then the kitchen gets slammed, making the orders for all those customers. Then the customers leave and the serving staff do their thing and the kitchen starts to catch up. Then the kitchen gets caught up and serving staff starts heading home. Then the kitchen staff heads home and it's just me in the back, still dealing with the original big slam of customers we had earlier in the day. Here's what I can do. I can refuse to help them and 100% focus on making sure dishes are done. That may mean you need to have more serving staff come in to handle the load, since I won't be helping. That also might mean you need to have the line cooks and or prep cooks stay longer to make sure the kitchen is kept up to pace through the busiest hours. If I'm just sticking to clearing tables and washing dishes, I can keep up and maintain everything fine." Manager: "Okay, well, do that." The rest of the restaurant didn't last a day before they were demanding my help during their rush times, clearly upset, and it was only a day after that the manager instructed them they needed to help me with washing dishes and we'd all leave together at the end of the night. They finally started to understand when they tried to help me get those dishes done. It changed everything. I, of course, returned the favor and all was well. Not long after that, I moved over to handling prep work, slicing and dicing and all that kind of thing. I also started handling food deliveries and so on. It was nice and I got paid more, but I found out pretty quick that the faster I did my job, the less I got paid. Unlike with dishes, there was a bit more fixed amount of work to do, so I was happy to help the dishwashers. I got so fast at one point that in the middle of the summer rush days, I'd just hang out in the dish pit and the dishwasher would have it so easy. The manager tried to have me do both dishwashing and prep work because otherwise I lost too many hours. But that situation and how I got past it is another story. Crazy religious aunt throws a statue at me when she finds out I'm an atheist. Cast: we've got me, my entitled aunt, my cool cousin, and my mom. Background: I come from a religious background, but I am an atheist. Mom and cool cousin knew that, but entitled aunt didn't. It was a Saturday evening. Cool cousin and entitled aunt came over to visit us because we just came back from abroad. So while Mom and entitled aunt were chatting, me and cool cousin were playing Assassin's Creed. When we are almost done, entitled aunt barges in the room and begins watching us. Entitled aunt:
"What is the game you are playing about?"
Cool cousin: "It's about taking out targets during the Third Crusade." Entitled aunt:
"But OP, you know that these actions are forbidden in our religion."
She believed that we were going to practice sorcery if we continued playing it. Me: "It is in your religion."
"What do you mean, your religion?"
I stayed quiet, but cool cousin defended me and said, "People can believe in whatever they want, and OP here decided to be an atheist." Entitled aunt:
"OP, how dare you believe in the devil?"
Me: "Actually, being an atheist means—"
"Shut your mouth."
Crazy cousin: "Mom, that's enough. Just let him be."
"No, I'm not going to let that little jerk continue being lost."
After all the yelling, my mom decided to intervene. Mom: "Enough, entitled aunt. Every time you meet up with us, you try to convert us. Would you like it if I did the same to your kids?" Entitled aunt:
"OP is an atheist."
Mom: "So what? He's my son and I will love him no matter what."
"That's it. I've had enough. If you're going to let an evil little jerk live with you, I won't."
Entitled aunt grabbed a wooden statue and hurled it at me. It hit me in the eye and I went to the hospital. Cops were called and entitled aunt tried to justify her actions by saying that it was okay because I was an atheist. Obviously, that didn't work and she had to pay us $3,000 for medical bills. Entitled aunt never tried that stunt again, and of course, me and cool cousin stayed close to each other. P.S. Sorry if some phrases are a little bit off. I had to translate the argument to English. Have you ever had an entitled relative that you just couldn't stand? Boss wanted me to train my replacement, but I didn't even work there anymore. I used to work in a grocery store back in 2016. I was 16 to 17 at the time. I don't work retail anymore, but I wanted to share this story I still remember to this day. It was a pretty normal night right before the end of my shift. I was one of the few closers at my store, so it was just me, my supervisor, and a cashier. I worked the self-checkout / customer service desk. My supervisor had just collected the tills and was in the back counting, and I was starting my rounds to take back the non-perishables that were left at the registers. I also might add that our store had terrible camera placement. Basically, it showed all the registers and the supervisor's office door, which is where the safe was. This is important for later. After putting up all of the items that were left at the registers, I did my final check of the store to make sure there were no misplaced or damaged items on the floor. I find a case of beer that was leaking in our beer/wine section, and since I wasn't sure how damaged the bottom of the cardboard case was, I had to drag it to the front so I could inform my supervisor about the damaged item before taking it to the back. We kept a cart full of damaged items to be taken out by the morning crew. Since the supervisor's office is locked while they are counting the tills, I call over to her and let her know that there was a damaged case of beer and I was taking it to the back. She responds with an absent, "Okay, sounds good." So I take it to the back and place it with the rest of the damaged items and go back to the front to see if there is anything else my supervisor needs me to do before I clock out. There isn't. Next couple of days are fine as I finish up the week and wait for the next week's schedule to be posted, and I find out that I'm not scheduled for the next week. I figure there must have been a mistake, as there was someone working at the same grocery store who shared my first name. I go upstairs to my manager's office and ask him about the schedule and why I wasn't scheduled. He responds with, "Oh, my bad. I forgot to tell you that you are suspended until the investigation is over. By the way, can you train your replacement today on the self-checkout / customer service desk?" Me, confused and annoyed at the moment, don't really pay attention to the second part of his comment. I ask him what he was talking about. My manager: "You were caught stealing that case of beer that you took to the back, and until the police investigation is complete, you won't be working here anymore. Please turn in your uniform, name tag, and badge." I am furious, but I decide that I would just go with a bit of MC in the situation. "Well, boss man, I took the damaged case of beer to the back to be thrown out in the morning as per procedure, but since I won't be working here anymore, I guess you will just have to find someone else to train my replacement, since I clearly can't be trusted." I was the only person who could train someone for the customer service desk other than him. His jaw dropped. The look on his face was priceless as I took off my uniform and handed him my name tag and override card. I then proceeded to walk out, get in my car, and drive home. About 2 years later, I joined the Army, and I'm going for a job that required a security clearance. Guess what shows up? That suspension with an unfinished police report and the tapes from the security camera. I sit there with my interviewer as we watch the tape together, clearly showing that I did not steal anything. Needless to say, I was approved for my clearance. I ask if I can get a copy of the tape, and my interviewer agrees. It took 2 years, but I finally had the evidence I needed to sue for wrongful termination. But as the time is well over the statute of limitation, I am unable to actually do anything about it. Either way, I decide to go pay my old workplace a visit over my Christmas block leave, and a couple people recognize me, including my old boss. He tells me that thieves like me aren't welcome in his store, and that I need to leave or he would be calling the police. I told him to call them, and that his claim would surely hold up when I showed them the copy of the video footage of me stealing. The store had one of my favorite muffins, and honestly, I really wanted one since they are only made there. The police got called and did nothing, and I got 3 muffins free of charge thanks to my favorite supervisor. Worth it. Guy who stole $2,000 worth of equipment from our store came back the same day we found out what he looked like. I work at a relatively new grocery store in a small town in Washington. We've only been open for around 9 months, and our customer count has been going up recently, so it gets a bit harder to keep track of customers. I usually work as a cashier most of the week on the closing shift, but I'll also throw freight in the aisles at least 2 days a week. Anyways, here's the story. So in our stockroom, we have 4 handheld scanners on docks, ready to be used by employees and managers to check prices, print tags, etc. On St. Patrick's Day, we somehow lost 2 of them. These things are worth a lot of money, and at first, we thought 2 managers had just misplaced them. For the past month, they've been trying to track them with the tile trackers they put on each device, and they've always shown to be just outside or even in our parking lot. The owners were obviously confused and have been trying to figure out what happened to them. Yesterday, I came in for my shift as the closing cashier. I grabbed my uniform from my locker, put on my face mask, and grabbed my handset. As I'm in the front office getting my radio, one of the owners grabs my attention and shows me a printout of the security cameras. From now on, I'll just put them as Owner 1 and Owner 2. Owner 1. So, we just found out who took our handhelds. It turns out he just walked straight to the back and just took them off the docks and walked right back out. We're pretty sure you were on your break at that point. Did you see him? The break room is just inside of the stock room, but there aren't any windows or anything besides a slim one-way window on the door. Me. I didn't see him, but he does look familiar. I'll keep an eye out for him. Owner 2. If you see him, let us know. That's very valuable equipment he stole. Me. Yes, sir. I'll let you know if I see him. I walk out and clock in. So, I'm going about my normal shift. I count in my till. I do some facing around the store since there are 2 cashiers up front currently. Then it happens. 15 minutes after I switch out registers with the opening cashier, the guy walks right in and grabs a basket. At first, I didn't recognize him. Even on the picture, he just looked like any ordinary guy. Luckily, our front-end manager has years of experience, so she spotted him, no problem. So she goes and faces the area he's in, acting like she's making it look pretty, and he's really interested in the chicken that's right next to the stock room. Anyways, a few minutes later, he comes up with a full basket of goodies. As he's talking to me, I hear the manager telling Owner 2 he's in my line and he's being rung up. I freeze for a second because I couldn't say anything. Luckily, I had a mask on, so he couldn't see the look of shock come across my face. Anyways, Owner 2 comes up and is acting like he's helping me bag. Then he suddenly starts a conversation with him. Owner 2. Hey, have you come into this store before? Thief. Yeah, a few times. I'm a pretty frequent shopper. Owner 2. Okay, cool. Have you been here around March 17th? Thief immediately starts acting nervous. Not that I know of. Owner 2. All right. Stops bagging. Hang on 1 second, I'll be right back. Owner 2 went to the front office. I'm guessing to grab the printout they showed me earlier, and Thief is just sputtering. Suddenly, Thief just looks up, does a 180, and just starts walking out in the middle of my transaction. I actually had to shut down my register so I didn't get a line going. So I then pull out my radio. The mic remote won't work, probably from the rain, and alert Owner 2 he's trying to walk out, and he just Usain Bolts out the door after him, probably trying to ask him why he stole the handhelds. And then, as Owner 2 is getting the guy's license plate, Thief tried to run him over with his car, probably in view of the front surveillance camera. So the cops are called, charges are pressed, and now they know who he is. He's probably done this before now that I think about it, and I'm just in shock. Afterwards, I was profusely apologizing for not noticing it was him in the first place, but the manager just reassured me that I just didn't have experience in identifying people like that. She had around 9 years of experience to boot. That's why she was able to spot him. Anyways, let's hope there's an end to that whole deal and we can get our 2 handhelds back. Update. I forgot to mention that when he stole those handhelds, he did it with no hesitation and like he knew what he was doing. It was an insane breach of privacy and no one even noticed. Leave the store open with poo everywhere? Okay, boss. So, while I was at university, I had a side job managing a team at a very popular sandwich branch. Myself, Joe, and Johnny would work the night shift, 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., and I would work Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night as the shop was opposite the only nightclub in town. Very upper-class city during the day, but a very trashy nightlife. It would get so busy after 2 a.m. with drunks that queues would be out the door, and we would have to put away tables and chairs to block the toilets, as people would either throw them at us or each other, or dash off to the toilets to do things they shouldn't be doing back there. This, however, happened at around 9 p.m. Nice and quiet time. Nothing interesting usually happens during this time, And the owner of the restaurant would call in every half hour to see how the shop is doing because he's worried about losing money by requiring 3 whole employees to prepare for the night rush. A group of around 15 girls run in, all really drunk. Cool, serve them, get rid of them. Happens occasionally, but we still got some time before the mass comes. One of the larger girls collapses against the wall on the floor, looks passed out. Her friends don't take any notice, but we are all first aid trained. I get Joe to go check on her. She waves him off, shouts at him. Fine, back to work. 10 minutes later, the smell. Oh Lord, the smell. The store is actually pretty busy, but after realizing what had happened, we had to stop serving and kick everybody out of the store because of the health hazard I was about to witness. We kick out her friends and she's still asleep. Myself and John lift her to a safe location while John calls an ambulance in case there's anything wrong. The smell gets worse as we lift her. I felt sick. I turned to look back and I saw the largest pile of literal crap. None of us wanted to go anywhere near it, but a joint effort between the 3 of us had it cleaned up within minutes. I wasn't going to risk anything, so I left the air on full blast and prepared to lock up for the rest of the night. Incoming phone call. It basically went down as, "How's the store?" We had an accident, so we had to close.
What? Under no circumstances are you ever to close early.
Yes, but
No buts. Open back up immediately, or I'll fire all 3 of you.
we throw away anything perishable that wasn't covered. We didn't have a lot out, but still, not risking anything else that could lose me my oh-so-precious part-time job. We then proceed to take a 30-minute break to let the store ventilate and have the smell go, like it would. Huge group of lads come to the store while we're outside and starts a fight with Joe because we were closed. I tell the lad what happened and why we were closed, but he was having none of it. Said he knew the owner and was a law student and would have me sued for false closure. Enlighten me. I can't get sued for something like this, can I? He calls the owner, and surely enough, I immediately get a call back.
Open the store now, or I'll fire you on the spot.
I tell him to wait up a couple of seconds while I deal with the customer. I tell Joe to start recording the call. Sorry, I didn't catch what you previously said. Could you repeat?
Open the store, or you're fired.
I repeat our previous conversation, explaining why I had closed the store and that it was a critical food hazard until it was cleaned properly. Most heavy-duty cleaning materials that could have appropriately cleaned up the mess were locked away by the owner until morning because we wouldn't have time.
I don't think you understood what I said, OP. Open the store.
All right, will do, boss. So I continue to open the store. Customers start flooding in. I get all fresh ingredients out to start rushing through the humongous line we were amassing. A lot of customers are turning their noses once they walk in, but like I said, trashy. These people are hungry. They line up anyway. Some customers are throwing up from the smell. It was really that bad. Asked me what was up. I told them that if I were to close, I would lose my job. Police show up and close up the shop for us. Thank God. I was waiting for something like this to happen. We didn't even have to clean up. We just got told to go home and they would sort it out with the owner tomorrow because the city had a reputation to uphold. I ended up getting fired because I closed the store. But instead of just getting fired, I ended up taking it to court for unfair dismissal and got a month's payout, and the owner had an emergency health inspection the morning after. The guy lost his branch. He works as a security guard at a grocery store now, working for the security guard he previously hired to look after us after 1 a.m. Pretty sure he ended up losing his house and car too. Forget that guy. Entitled mom yells at me for drinking on my own porch. This happened yesterday. It was really nice out, so I thought I'd take a break from writing all my papers to sit out on my porch with a nice glass of wine. Since I live on the first floor of the complex, I have a small green patch where I have a bird feeder set up and some flowers. Past that is the public sidewalk, and there are no fences, so it's all pretty open. I take a chair out the sliding glass door onto the patio/porch, leave the screen door closed so my cats can get a bit of the outdoor air, and plop down and pour myself a glass of Cabernet. At that point in the day, the sunlight was right on my porch, so my cats were laying in the sunbeam right behind me. As I'm just watching the day go by, seeing the occasional dog on a walk, or people just taking a stroll, a little kid about 5 or so came up into my view, trying to jump from sidewalk square to square. I hear the mom somewhere out of my line of sight say,
Don't go too far ahead.
So he stops where he is and looks around. He sees me and my cats in behind the screen.
Look, Mom, he says, those kitties are the same color as S'more.
I guess his cat is also a calico. By this point, the mom catches up and glances in my direction to see what he's pointing at.
Oh yeah?
She says. Then she looks over to me and her tone quickly changes.
What the heck are you doing?
Me? I said, a bit thrown back.
Yes, you. What do you think you're doing? You can't drink here. These are student dorms.
These are actually just apartments, unaffiliated with the university. But since they're across from the campus, pretty much only students live here, so many think it's another dorm.
Me. I'm over 21. No, you're not. These are student dorms.
I guess she forgot that students can also be over 21? I'm pretty sure I'm over 21.
Don't you talk back to me. Get rid of that drink right now. You can't drink in public.
I guess she decided to switch gears on how to get rid of my drink. She starts walking towards me. Her kid comes too, I guess wanting a closer look at my cats.
Lady, I'm on my own porch. I can drink wine if I want.
She clearly didn't like me talking back. She got angry.
I said get rid of that drink.
She continued to approach, yelling at me like I'm her kid, and I won't put my toys away. By that point, the kid was on my porch looking at my cats through the porch screen. No. I take a sip.
Get rid of it, or I'm taking it.
By this point, she's right in front of me, face red, hands on her hips, looming over me, like that's gonna work on a 26-year-old.
No! Now get off my porch,
I said, standing up with my voice raised. By then, the cats had run off, and the boy was bummed. We continued to stare down each other.
I'm on my own porch. I'm not hurting anyone, and I'm 26. I'll drink on my porch if I want.
I take another swig in front of her. Entitled mom then smacks the wine out of my hand, and it nearly lands on her kid as it shatters on the floor.
What the heck, lady?
I told you to get rid of that drink,
she yells, not at all worried that the drink could have hit him.
Forget you!
I shoved her and tried to pick up the big pieces so he wouldn't get cut by them. He was wearing sandals. Her kid runs off back to the sidewalk.
How dare you push me?
How dare you destroy my property? Get the heck off my porch, or...
I started waving around the broken glass pieces, and she took that as a threat.
Are you threatening me?
I actually wasn't. I just get expressive with my hands when I'm mad, and I happen to have the broken glass in them. But by this point, I'm fed up with this jerk.
Yes! Now get off my property!
By this point, we had attracted a couple of onlookers, which entitled mom finally noticed. She looked around and saw a couple on the sidewalk gawking at her, as well as my neighbor sitting on his porch nearby. She looks around. Her face, which was red with anger, was now red with embarrassment. She huffs and puffs and spins around, grabbing her kid's hand, and speed walks away from all of us as fast as she can. My neighbor asked if I was okay. I said I was fine, just annoyed. I swept up the broken glass, went back inside, poured another glass, and watched some JoJo to get my mind off things. Weird jerk. Entitled parent at my work demands that I pay for her and her kids to rock climb. Backstory. I work at a rock climbing gym. As an employee, I get a free membership. I get to climb for free, and I get 2 guest passes that are renewed 30 days after being used. I had already used both passes to climb with some friends. This is relevant later. I was working a nice morning shift. All the regular early customers had pretty much been signed in and paid for, and then Karen, entitled parent, walked in with a few of her kids. I actually recognized her. I was friends with her oldest son a long time ago, but I hadn't seen their family since the 4th grade, and she didn't recognize me, so I stayed quiet. The first register on the right side of the front desk was taken by another customer, so I called her over to the register on the left. For whatever reason, the left register only accepts card, no cash, just remember that. Entitled parent walks up, tells me what she needs to buy, what gear to rent, etc. When it's time for her to pay, she pulls out several $20 bills. Me. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention it. This register doesn't accept cash. Do you have a card? Entitled parent looks at me like some pond scum just started speaking to her.
What? What are you even talking about? This little sign says, pay with cash to support local businesses. I'm trying to support local businesses, and your sign is totally wrong. So I would just take that down.
Looking at her, I couldn't help but think, oh, you poor, poor rich woman. You have to put your wad of cash back in your nice purse. How sad. Anyway,
I probably said something epically clever as an apology, like, sorry. So she stuffs her money back in her purse and pulls out some coupons. But you aren't allowed to combine coupons of the same deal for the same purchase, something like that. So I told her, and then she gave me this talk about customer service and told me all about how my rules were wrong. My rules? I have the lowest possible position of the employees. The rules aren't mine. So I just gave her her way and let her use her gift cards. But she wasn't done. The rest of her rant went something like this.
Listen, buddy, I've been standing here far too long. My kids just want to climb. First you trick me with your stupid sign trying to get my cash, and then you tell me my coupons aren't valid? This customer service is terrible. Can you give me a cashier who doesn't act stupid? Do you have a membership here?
I was getting a little upset. It was a weird way to end her little speech, but I told her I was a member.
So that means you have some free passes. I read your website. For all the trouble you just caused me, you need to use your passes on me and my kids. And you should also pay for our climbing gear. Me.
What? Well, I only have 2, and they are already used, and you can't ask me to pay for you. I actually have used my passes to pay for families who were a couple dollars short. But again, I didn't have any, and this lady was just the worst. I have the lowest position the job offers, and I'm not allowed to ask people to leave the gym.
What did you say to me, you little jerk? My kids rock climb all the time. They're good enough that you should pay for them. How dare you tell me what I can't do? Take me to your manager, boy. I'm going to get you fired, and I'm going to make you pay for us.
Basically, her logic in her speech was that I didn't have kids, and I'm the one with the job, so I should just pay for her. I actually didn't know what to say. The climbing community is extremely friendly, so I have never had a rude customer come in. She poked her head behind the desk and grabbed the computers towards her so she could look at it and tell me how to give her my passes, and I grabbed the computer and told her to stop.
Assault! I'm reporting you.
Me. That isn't assault. You sure can speak to my boss. I would love to see what she has to say. She kept going on, and I had kept calm the whole time, but I told her to shut up. I don't remember what she said. She was going crazy yelling. We got to my boss. I started explaining what happened, but she cut me off.
No. First he wouldn't let me pay. He assaulted me and made fun of my kids. You need to make him pay for me and my kids to climb.
My boss calmed her down, and I told my boss exactly what happened. And sure enough, my coworker confirmed I was right, and my boss checked the cameras and saw exactly what happened. Entitled parent was asked to leave, was not banned from the facility, but was asked to not come back. I actually just feel bad about this whole thing. Like I said, I used to be friends with her son, and it's a rather bitter memory now. For the record, they're mostly a very nice family, and I even saw one of her kids tell her she was being rude during the whole thing. Even though she was acting really stupid, I don't hate her, but I would prefer not to see her again. Hope you enjoyed this. I didn't. Insane religious aunt berates my cousin over her fiancé and is shocked when her son sides against her. Cast. We've got my innocent cousin, we've got me, we've got my cool cousin, we've got poor boyfriend, and entitled aunt. It was a nice winter evening. Entitled aunt had just come back from Dubai. I was spending the weekend with innocent cousin, and my entire family has greeted her with an open heart, but my wounds with her are still fresh. Innocent cousin was also entitled aunt's niece, and cool cousin was her son. But innocent cousin saw her as a mother figure because her mother was always at work. Later during the night, innocent cousin decided to introduce her boyfriend to entitled aunt, but problems began to develop when they started talking about marriage. Entitled aunt.
Oh, sweetie, you are such a lovely person. Where are you getting married?
Poor boyfriend. Oh, we are getting married at a church.
Excuse me?
Innocent cousin. Please, entitled aunt. We all know what happened with you and OP, and we don't want that to happen again. For some reason, entitled aunt started yelling again.
If you don't want that to happen again, don't marry this jerk in a church.
Poor boyfriend. Ma'am, please, I really love...
If you really love her, you would leave her alone after I just warned you.
Cool cousin. Mom, that's enough. Me. Yeah, we don't want to repeat what happened between me and you. If he wants to marry her in a church, so be it.
I'm not going to listen to the talk of a pagan worshiper. You already cost me my relationship with your mother, you little crap. You're not gonna do the same thing now.
Cool cousin was getting mad, and he started yelling.
Enough, Mom. Stop hating other people for what they believe in.
You have already ruined many relationships with many of our friends and family. Why can't you keep your mind open and accept the fact that people who are different also exist? At this point, the tension in the room can be cut with a knife. Innocent cousin. Please, cool cousin, that's enough. Cool cousin. No, that isn't enough. She already harmed OP, and she will be willing to do the same thing to you if you marry him. Then entitled aunt had the guts to smack cool cousin across the mouth for speaking the truth.
You little jerk. I raised you for 18 years, and now you are supporting these people?
Me. That's enough, entitled aunt. Don't you realize that the more you try to push your own agenda on others, the more you will be hated? Even your own son can't stand your actions. The son which you raised. It's about time someone called you out on your stupid actions. Poor boyfriend and innocent cousin are getting married whether you like it or not. Poor boyfriend, quietly. Thanks, man. Entitled aunt and cool cousin have finally calmed down. Cool cousin. Mom, just please for once open your mind. Please don't always be opposed to the actions of other people. Please, Mom, I implore you to work with us this time. Entitled aunt.
Sorry, cool cousin, I simply can't. And if you want to stay with OP, poor boyfriend, and innocent cousin, just know that I will never consider you to be my son.
After entitled aunt said that, she cut off contact with her son, who was in college. This still remains a very touchy subject, and most of my family don't want to talk about it. 2 months after the incident, poor boyfriend and innocent cousin got married in a church. Me and cool cousin remained close with them, and we occasionally hang out sometimes. Entitled aunt went to Dubai to live there with her husband. The rest of our families accepted the marriage without any problems. Menu changed? I won't be back. I used to work in a dine-in movie theater. Like, waiters come to your seat and take your order and bring you food, menus, and full meal sort of thing. We had a full bar out front in the lobby instead of a concession stand. We still had popcorn and candy though. Mind you, while the food is decent, it's just standard chain fare, and most of it comes frozen. I've done every job in that building except for cooking and managing. At the point of time in this story, I was a bartender. Our menu had been mostly the same for the first 6 or so years on this particular chain being open. Typical menu, burgers and pizza, chicken tenders and salad sort of thing. Suddenly, corporate stupidly decided to completely change it. We had new desserts and completely tossed out our old ones, new names for all our burgers, got rid of our homemade pizza dough and a lot of pizza favorites, etc. But the biggest change was that they eradicated the chicken tenders and the kids' menu completely. Now, kids had to order adult-sized entrees, which we aren't exactly a kid-friendly theater anyways. Anyone under 18 has to be with a parent more or less at all times, and babies under 3 are just flat out not allowed in the building because we are, legally speaking, a bar. And the tendies were replaced with boneless wing bites. You get 8 to 12 of these measly little balls of breaded chicken that are tossed in sauce with fries or a salad. Naturally, some customers were frustrated, but hey, corporate decision, I can't change it. Anyway, as a bartender during the week, I was in charge of selling tickets and handing out menus. During the weekdays, we rarely had a ticket seller on duty out front, so people are supposed to just walk in and purchase from me. A woman, who we will call Karen, and her 15 or so year old son, who we'll call Billy, come in. I know I've seen them in before. So they purchase tickets, and Karen asks for a menu. I assented and launched into the little spiel management told me to give as I handed out the new menus. Me. No problem. Just to let you know, our menu has changed as of a few days ago. There are some awesome new items, but unfortunately, some of our old items have been replaced. Karen.
Oh, well, that's okay. As long as I can still get chicken tenders. My son and I love them. That's the only reason we come here instead of the theater we actually live beside.
She begins to flip through the menu. Me, cringing. Well, actually, the tenders are one of the items that have been replaced. We now have boneless wing bites.
What do you mean? You can't take off the tenders?
Billy. Mom, it's cool. We can just try the bites.
They better be as good as the tenders.
She's grumbling as she stalks towards their assigned theater, and her son gives me an apologetic glance as he follows behind her. They're the only people who end up in that theater. Again, weekday, slow. So when the ticket comes through, 10 minutes into the movie for a drink in that one, I know it's hers. To make it up to her that the tenders are gone, I make her drink look extra nice, garnished all pretty, and the color, it was a blue raspberry spiked lemonade, was fantastic. I tried super hard as a newbie bartender to make this thing look epic.
My manager took a photo of it when I was done. I was proud of that drink. I'm friends with her waiter too, so I tell the waiter to make sure the food comes out perfect. I just want to avoid any complaints at this point and give her a good experience since the only reason they came here was for the food, specifically the tenders that they both loved so much. About 20 minutes into the movie, 10 minutes after the drink, I see her food come past and go into the theater. Not even 5 minutes later, this woman comes storming out with a plate in her hand, drink in the other, and right up to where I am making drinks at the bar. She is fuming. Her son is on her tail and begging her to calm down. My little anxious heart jumps into my throat and then falls. I hate angry customers. She speaks before I can even open my mouth.
Manager, now!
Me. Yes, ma'am. I walk around the bar and to the manager's office and knock on their door. As I'm waiting, I glance over my shoulder and see her overturn her plate onto my drink station. She has gotten the boneless bites tossed in sauce, so now the area and mats on which I mix all cocktails is covered, and I mean covered, in spicy barbecue sauce and wings and fries. She pours her perfect drink on top of it right as the manager is coming out of the office. My manager is awesome. We'll call her Violet. She doesn't even look at me, just runs straight to the woman. I follow behind but keep a bit of a distance. Manager. Ma'am, what seems to be the problem here? Billy. Nothing. Mom and I are just leaving. Everything's okay. Karen.
Shut up. That stupid bartender told me that the tenders are gone, and I had to order boneless wings instead. I ordered them, and they're gross, and she's so incompetent that she can't even make a darn mixed drink right. This drink is gross, and your standards for good food have dropped. I want to speak to corporate.
Manager. Well, here's the hotline number for corporate, but my bartender did make that drink correctly. I'm sorry it wasn't up to your standards, clearly as you've smushed all of it into my bar.
I just figured since this is her,
Points at me,
fault, she can clean it up.
because I'm somehow at fault for the entire menu change countrywide. Sorry, I get paid $8 an hour. Not my deal. Manager. The menu change was a corporate decision. My bartender didn't take the tenders off, and she made that drink perfectly. I'm sorry you're this upset, and I'll make sure corporate is aware.
I'm leaving a Yelp review too. I'm never coming back here. Everyone will know not to come here anymore. My son is so disgusted with your food.
Billy. Actually, I thought it was good, Mom. Please, it isn't that bad.
Shut up! It's not good. You should be shut down. You don't care about your customers. I will never, ever come back here. Forget you.
She's shrieking at this point. She reaches into her mess and picks up one of the bar mats she smeared food and drink onto and chucks it at me before running out of the store. Luckily, I dodged the mat, but food and drink dropped onto me and the floor now too. Her son, bless this poor kid, grabs a roll of napkins off the nearest rack. We have napkins and condiments and racks on the bar and starts trying to clean it up. He's crying quietly at this point, and I don't blame him. I was on the brink of tears myself. This would have been so embarrassing to be that woman's kid in this situation. I get down next to him and gently take the napkins from him, telling him it's okay. I get it. My manager gave him 2 free tickets and said if him and someone older wanted to come see movies, she'd take care of his food too next time, but his mom wasn't welcome back. We escorted him to the door where his mom had pulled up in her car and was slamming on the horn to get him to hurry up. They left. I cleaned it up and spent the rest of the day smelling like chicken and spiked lemonade, sticky and crumpy. Karen has tried to come back a few times, shockingly. Billy still shows up with his dad and older brother and is always the absolute sweetest kid to me and the waitstaff. But the woman has shown up alone, and I always alert manager when she appears, and she's always told to leave. Shockingly, she never throws a fit, just walks out. We never heard from corporate about her either. We still don't have chicken tenders. Crazy entitled parents called the cops on me because I refused to give them my car. Okay, a little bit of background. Where I live, there is a car show held in memory of someone in our town who passed of brain cancer, and all proceeds go to cancer research. The show is held at a raceway nearby where everyone is welcoming and kids get in free while the parents have to pay $2 to get in, while the people entering the car show or are going to go around the track pay a premium. Now the story. I had entered my car into the car show and paid extra for it to go around the track during the time event. The car show part was a few hours before the warm-up before time trials, where everyone entering could do up to 3 practice laps to get used to the course. Now this is where the kid came in. Before the practice laps start, entitled kid said he liked my car. 1977 Leyland Mini and started asking me about it and how I got it. All was normal. My family, who was with me, said I should let him sit in it, and I agreed, but thought I could take it a step further and let him sit in the passenger seat during one of my warm-up laps. I said to him I would let him go around the track with me on account I have his parents' permission. When he heard that, his face lit up and he went to go get his parents. I thought all was normal until this happened. I was waiting around for the kid and his parents to show up. I hadn't moved from my spot and was doing some pre-checks on my car before I went out. 20 minutes had passed and I thought it was taking a little long for him to come back to give me an answer. But I thought I would wait a little longer just in case he got lost. Next thing I know, another 20 minutes have passed, then another 20 minutes. I had waited an hour for him to show back up and needed to get on the track. My car was ready half an hour ago, and I had already gotten permission from the race organizers to have a passenger for one lap of the practice run. I had gotten tired and went to start the car when the kid showed up with his parents. They instantly asked me if I was up to something. By the way, I just turned 18 at the time and had my girlfriend with me at the race, keeping track of my times. I told them I just wanted to give him a chance to see what it was like in a road race car, just like how someone else let me when I was his age. After hearing that, they took a few steps back and started talking, but they took 10 minutes to do so. Tired of waiting, I told them it was final call. It's either a yes or a no, and I need to get on the track now. Entitled parents gave me a stink eye and finally said entitled kid could go. I had him get in and put the 5-point on, and we headed for the first practice run. I told him to hold on and don't scream while I'm driving. He seemed to understand, but during the lap, he did the exact opposite. Once it was over, I had a headache and was still trying to be nice, and I asked him if he had fun. He said he did and wanted to go again. I said from now on I had to be by myself, and he started yelling at me and got out of the car, slamming the door behind me. I had had it at that point and just went to do my last 2 laps. Once they were over, we stopped for a quick break, and this is where everything went down. First off, I had the entitled parents come up to me and yell at me for not letting him go again. I explained to them that I technically wasn't allowed and only got permission to do 1 lap with him. They were livid. Next thing I know, one of the organizers tells them their kid could go around the track in one of the rental track cars with his father, but it would cost $300. The entitled kid said no, and that he wanted to go around in my car, but I said he couldn't. Next thing I know, entitled father is yelling how it's a ripoff and we are wasting the money on cancer research. I lost it at that point and told them to leave, but the organizers said what they said was fine and we don't need to make this work. I left with the organizer after that to avoid more of the confrontation. Skip forward half an hour and the time trial is about to start, and guess who came back? Entitled mom. She said she was sorry and wanted to talk. I said later, and she yells out $400. She was offering $400 for my entire car. I told her no and to get out of here. Next thing I know, the other entitled parent rocks up and says $700 for the car. I said no, and that I have more money in my car than they probably have in their bank. The father responded saying that my sad, rusted piece of crap is not worth more than $1,000, and that I would get more from crushing it than selling it. I told them to leave, as they would not like what would happen next if they get in my way. I hopped in my car and drove off right past them. Once the time trial was over, I went to park in my spot to find my girlfriend and grandfather being talked to by the cops while the entitled parents were pointing at me. 2 officers came over and told me to turn off my car and get out of the vehicle. I did so and asked what was going on. The entitled parents had called the cops, claiming I stole their car. I told the cops the car was in my name and I have footage inside from a camera in my car that I use for studying my driving techniques. They asked to see the footage and I willingly showed them. They say I did nothing wrong and I had my parents bring down the proof of sale for my car. The entitled parents still tried to do me over until entitled father hit a bystander. The cops arrested him for assault and took the wife in as an accomplice. I haven't heard anything from them, but now one of the officers from the incident is a good friend of mine and we go to races together. So at least something good came out of this. Go ahead and do a chargeback, but you won't be getting a refund. Okay, I will. A couple of years ago, I ordered an express parcel delivery from the UK to the USA via one of those third-party parcel shipping companies. For those who are unfamiliar, they are a middleman and they hold huge accounts with UPS, DHL, FedEx, etc. They then offer cheaper parcel rates and pass some of this discount on to the customer. So I ordered an express 48-hour delivery with one of these delivery companies for my 2 parcels to the USA. This cost me around £100 for the first 2 boxes, and from experience using this delivery company in the past, they have a delivery guarantee, which offers me a full refund of all carriage charges if any part of the shipment is not delivered within 48 hours. A few days later, I was told by my customer that the boxes had arrived 2 days late. Not a problem. I checked the tracking number and it had been held up at the UK-based air freight terminal, which entitled me to a full refund of the carriage charges. I then contacted the delivery company, but I was told that although I was fully entitled to a full refund, I'd have to speak to the third-party shipping company. I contacted them by phone and I was told that they don't issue refunds for delayed parcels. I explained that this was a guaranteed service and the delivery company said that I was entitled to a refund. At this point, I was passed on to a manager by the call center operative without even asking. The manager was very obnoxious and wasn't bothered that my parcel had been delayed. In his opinion, I shouldn't expect it to get there on time when I had paid such a low price. So you want a full refund just because your parcel is delayed? Yes, I do, because that is what was in the terms and conditions. But you didn't buy the extra insurance. No, I didn't, because the delivery already included 1,000 pounds of insurance anyway. Well, we don't do refunds for delayed parcels, and especially if you haven't paid for the insurance. At this point, I was getting pretty annoyed because he was making up this idea of buying insurance to cover for delays. The insurance only covered total loss and damage anyway. So I explained that if I didn't receive a refund, I would simply initiate a chargeback on my credit card for the payment. At this point, he raised his voice and told me, "Fine, try to do a chargeback then. We will fight it and you won't get a refund. Yeah, your parcel was late, but that doesn't mean you get a free delivery." I ended the call and got straight on the phone to my credit card company. They went through a rigorous process with me and asked for a copy of the original invoice, the terms and conditions, etc. Within 24 hours, they had refunded the full amount back to my card and sent me a letter giving me the reasons they found the chargeback in my favor. It also explained that the merchant, the shipping company, had 30 days to contest the chargeback. However, 30 days came and went and the money was still showing as refunded. 6 weeks later, I received an email from their customer service team telling me that they were willing to give me a partial refund of 10% to compensate me for the delay. Obviously, somebody hadn't realized that I had initiated a chargeback and now it was too late. So I replied and politely explained that I was told by the manager, stating his name, to initiate a chargeback because their company doesn't issue refunds even when their terms and conditions say they do. Therefore, as far as I was concerned, the matter was now closed as my credit card company had given them 30 days to reply to the chargeback and they had not replied. Therefore, the chargeback was granted. Not only did I never hear anything back from them, but I haven't used this company since. The Girl Friday with the PhD takes over the business from the ungrateful owner. My spouse was the second person hired at a consulting company in a very specialized industry. In her 15 years with the firm, it grew to a respectable 3-office, 8 to 10 employees at each location entity. She and the owner grew the business on the contacts, expertise, and presentation of my wife, to the extent that my wife's abilities and education were the main reason new business came through the door. Over the years, her scope of responsibility grew so that the owner was basically 75% absent and mostly unaware of day-to-day activity. As he got more and more removed from the business, he would make overtures that he would eventually retire and sell her the business. He was so dependent on her income generating that he took out a life insurance policy on her. I did not involve myself too much, but at a major industry dinner party I attended with her, he introduced my wife to the table as my Girl Friday, basically a secretary, which was weird. Over the years, she tried to get an agreement in place to buy the firm, even if it was 2 years away. He always delayed and made promises but never followed through. I told her, "This guy doesn't respect you or your contribution. He will never sell you the business because there is no reason to. He can make more money by stringing you along, and essentially, you are the business. Why would he sell it to you?" One day, out of the blue, my wife received a raise and bonus, a very minor amount of money, and a contract that included a non-compete, non-disclosure agreement. After reading it, she realized that the owner was trying to lock her down from leaving for another firm. She had been getting feelers from other companies. To make things even more suspicious, she received a call from a competitor who said they were in final stages of due diligence and they wanted to meet her. The jerk was selling the company and didn't think to tell her or ask if she was interested in buying it. She ignored the agreement and there were no other agreements in place. She was totally free. My wife is extremely loyal. She has missed so many special days working for this guy, stuck around when they were wobbly, even skipped paychecks when there were tough financial times. She was furious, the absolute maddest I've ever seen her. We discussed starting her own firm, and I asked, how much business is contractually obligated to stay there if you leave? It turned out that most agreements were either handshakes or 30-day at will. I also asked how many would leave with you. She said about 75%, including her biggest source of revenue, who didn't even know the owner. In a very short time, my wife took a 3-week vacation. She had months of unused time, during which time she rented an office in the same building and made all the arrangements to set up a new shop. She agreed to leave any and all company property behind and do her best to give the old company no obvious ammo for litigation. She called her clients and said, "I'm leaving. If you want to look into relocating your account with my new company, you'll need to quit the old one before we can discuss it." Most understood the implication. While she was on vacation, she received a panic call from her boss. "We lost XYZ company. Do you know anything about it?" She said, "I'm sorry, but I just sent you an email. I've resigned. All my keys and company stuff is on my desk. Bye-bye." The new firm took basically 90% of the business and seamlessly transitioned into the same company as it was before, but with a new owner. Even most of the office staff would come aboard. Within a year, her old company closed down except for the small office her old boss ran. She sees him once in a while, and he just scowls at her. Entitled man calls the cops on me for parking my truck properly. So this happened like a year ago. I'm doing truck driving in a moving company in the big cities, and due to that, I have to park in some crappy places due to customers living in crowded areas. I had a gig where I had to drive like 150 kilometers to another city to do moving services with a team for a company. So once we got there, we saw that there was construction work going on right next door, which resulted in part of the sidewalk being taken up. Also, because it had only one right lane, for safety reasons I had to park my truck partly on the sidewalk so that cars wouldn't run into each other. I had made sure that there was enough room for people to go through without having to get too close to the road. By the way, this is completely legal in my country. So it took about 30 minutes, and there he was. This was around 2-hour packing job. This middle-aged guy on a bike, ready to conquer the world, entitled biker. First he came next to my truck and started taking pictures. I don't mind, because this kind of behavior is nothing new to me. Entitled biker. "Hey, you have to move your truck." Me. "No man, I'm in the middle of the work, and there was absolutely enough room that you could get through." Entitled biker. "What if there comes someone with kids in a carriage?" Cue a woman walking through with a kid carriage, looking confused because we both looked at her. I give entitled biker a smile. Never stopped working, by the way. "You know that parking like this is illegal, right?" Me. "No it isn't. You can look it up if you want." "Move your truck. This is illegal." My coworkers come from the inside to bring more stuff to pack. Coworker 1. "What's going on?" Me. "Some jerk is trying to make me move my truck, so nothing unusual. Just don't worry about it." Coworker 2. "Don't you have anything better to do than harass people who are just trying to do their job?" Entitled biker. "Move this truck, or I'm going to call the police." We all just smile and leave him to his BS and keep working because we know that he can't do anything. The guy then proceeds to make a few phone calls, I assume to our company and the police, and keeps spewing his BS. We just ignore it because we have a lot of places to go and know we'll be doing at least 2 hours of overtime without him bothering us. Another 15 minutes go by. Entitled biker. "Move your truck, or I'll call the police." Me, now smiling. "Who did you just call now then?" Entitled biker goes silent for a minute and keeps on spewing about my illegal parking. Then I saw a police car drive behind his back. They looked at the situation, slowed down, smiled, and kept on driving. It was the middle of the day, so by now there were a lot of trucks all over the place taking up sidewalks in my area. Post trucks, vehicles bringing food to stores, etc. So I tell him, "Dude, can't you just go harass the other truck drivers? Look around you, man. I'm not the only one parked like this. But either way, thanks for the laughs. I really enjoyed this." Entitled Biker is fuming at this point, so me and my coworkers give up and just tell him to buzz off. He finally decides to leave, but it isn't over yet. Entitled Biker decided to go and post about this incident to Facebook to all his 100 friends, and my coworker spotted the post. He basically was rambling how I was a jerk for parking there and we were disrespectful, and they just thanked me for the laughs they got out of me. At first I didn't pay any mind, but then he had also ranted about how he was almost fined for calling the emergency number on us, and they warned Entitled Biker that if he called again, he would be fined for disrupting the emergency line or something. But yeah, happy ending. It was a long day, but we got a lot of good laughs about it, and the construction workers also laughed. What the heck was that all about? And we even told our boss about it, who also laughed how some people can be so stupid. No problem, I'll print that video for you, and while I'm at it, I might have you fired as well. Context: this happened a few years ago. I was 18 and working as a receptionist for a community nursing center. As the youngest in the team by a long shot, the average age of employees being around 55 to 60, I was usually the one responsible for the computer stuff. Mostly just simple things, nothing a quick Google couldn't solve. The other staff members were wonderful, and I learned a lot from working with them. Except for the assistant manager, Karen. This woman was the bane of my existence. She was over 75, recently came out of a 15-year retirement as a receptionist, and was armed with a certificate in business management from a 4-hour online class. She refused to learn basic computer skills such as Word or email, stating that she didn't need to learn them again when she had others to do it for her, namely me. In a 5-hour shift, I would spend 3 hours just fielding her tasks. Needless to say, this came along with all the fun personality traits that make a manager from heck. At the start of my shift, I received an email from Karen asking me to print the attached files. One was a PDF and the other was an MP4. So assuming she meant just the PDF, I take the printed copy to her. This is roughly how the exchange went. Karen:
Why do you only have one file? I sent 2.
Me: You want me to print an MP4?
Isn't that what I asked? A monkey could do your job, and probably better at it.
Here, I'm pretty sure she laughed at her own joke. Me, desperate: Look, I don't think you understand.
Don't try and teach me. Don't forget, I did your job for 20 years, and now I could have you fired.
Already over it, and ready for some malicious compliance. Me: Okay, well, I've never printed this type of file before, so it might take a while. Karen interrupts:
I don't care how long it takes. I'm your boss, and I've told you to do this. Once it's done, you can move on to the other jobs.
I'm grinning ear to ear at this point. I get back to my desk and send her an email summarizing our conversation and explicitly clarifying she wanted me to print an MP4, to which I got a snarky reply. Perfect. I spent the next 4 to 5 hours pausing the video every 2 to 3 frames, screenshotting it, pasting it to a Word document, and printing. The administrative tasks piled up, not that Karen noticed, because she mostly spent her time reading magazines or talking on the phone. I felt bad as this placed an extra load on the other receptionists. However, since Karen was universally hated, they gave me their blessing. Once complete, I took about 100 pages, carefully held with clips to her desk, and sweetly told her that I had printed the file. She looked smug until she saw what was in front of her. Page after page of almost the same picture as the man moves through the video. Some slightly blurry, all in full color. She was furious, to say the least. But I was 1 hour overtime on my shift, and Karen knew that would already cause her some issues, so she let me leave. Though I knew it wasn't over yet. As expected, I get called into HR for a meeting the following week, where they accused me of wasting company time and not complying with management. I explained the situation in detail and showed them the email, including her awful reply. I also showed them a few more emails and texts where Karen used some particularly descriptive words to insult our staff members, including the very HR rep taking my interview. Turns out, this was the straw that broke the camel's back, as Karen had multiple reports against her from other staff members, and she had been driving HR insane with her own complaints. She lost her job the following week. The best part is that this happened on a Sunday, where I got double pay. I took some of that sweet overtime cash and brought in cupcakes to work once Karen was gone. I said it was an end-of-week treat, but we all knew what we were celebrating. The HR rep seemed to particularly enjoy hers. So Karen, what did you think of today's stories?
They were horrible.
Horrible? How dare you? These were some of the best we've ever read.
Oh, shut up, Mr. Reddit. It's ridiculous what people like myself have to go through. Dealing with stupid people like yourself and your subscribers.
Look, Karen, you can say whatever you want about me, but don't you talk about my re-army.
Re-army. Most of your viewers aren't even subscribed to your channel. 70% if I'm correct.
Well, I can't argue with that. That's true. Most of my viewers don't actually subscribe for some reason.
It's because you're stupid, Mr. Reddit.
No, I'm not. Alright guys, let's prove Karen wrong by making sure you're subscribed to the channel and turn on notifications.
They're not going to listen to you.
And if you'd like me, or Karen,
What?
to record a special message for you, come visit me on Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.
Never.
And join as a channel member today, and Karen will give you a special shout out in the next video.
Like heck I will.